Eventually. All right. What is going on, everybody? You are listening to another episode of Kessel Run Transmissions. We are on the final episodes of the Clone Wars, and it's still insane to me that we're saying that. It doesn't feel like it's the end, but we're almost at the end. And today's episode, this one was rough. This one was rough emotionally for all of us. I think we can all... Oh, no, I'm getting feedback. What did I do?
What?
No, you sound fine.
You sound fine on mine too.
Good,
You sound fine to me.
My bad. What that was I had YouTube playing in the background at full blast. And that just destroyed my ears. Bad. Oh, Jesus. Echo, exactly.
Echo. Oh, God.
Yeah, guys, so we're here with Clone Wars Shattered, the penultimate episode of the series. It's very sad. I don't know how to properly deal with that. So we're here for a group therapy session. That's what this is. As always, I'm Corey. Joined with me is my co-host of the Clone Wars Roundtables, Ross Fallon, MGF Customs.
Everybody, how's it going? Think we're all shattered. Sorry.
That was too soon. Ross, you don't get to do that.
Also joining us, as always, is Eric Cameron.
How's it going, everybody? I'm happy to be here and happy to cry my eyes out again.
100%. We also have Elias and Brian from Customs for the Kid.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Oh, you know.
Hanging in.
You know what? Don't honestly answer that question, please.
No. And also joining us is the person who I shared the San Diego Comic-Con 2018 experience with in the Clone Wars panel in the room, Dominic Jones from the Star Wars Underworld. What is up, buddy?
Hey, everybody. I kind of can't believe, Corey, that we're actually here having been there at Comic-Con 2 years ago. It still sort of feels like, no, the new season is coming up. All of this is just warm up for that. No. And but I can't believe we're actually at the end. And I'm really excited to talk about it with everybody here.
Absolutely. We squealed when we saw that trailer. We were like we were shaking in disbelief and tears, and just it was amazing. We also have joining us Dan Grievous, the Tikus lover himself.
Hello there.
What's up, buddy? And joining us for the first time is one of my friends here in the community who has a really cool up and coming YouTube channel. We have got Fred. I'm gonna call you Fred Vader, dude, because that's just how that's
perfect.
how I'm used to that on your Twitter handle. So what's up, buddy?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And joining us from a couple weeks ago as well, we've got Claire. How are you doing?
As functional as I can be at the moment, but I'm excited to talk about it with all of you.
Absolutely. And also we've got Chad.
What's up, fellas and fellaettes, ladies?
Fellas. I like it. I'm running with it.
Yeah. Fellow friends. Yeah.
And also joining us is somebody who should be very pumped that their clone trooper has survived up until this point. We've got Jesse from the Forces with Jesse.
What's up, everyone?
Dude, I got to ask you right off the bat, just real quick before we get into this. Jesse's still going, man.
He's still going. Yeah, he's not on the good side anymore, but he's running around that ship doing who knows what.
ARC Trooper.
Yeah.
He's doing ARC Trooper things.
Around. Okay, guys. So usually I would hand this off to everybody first, but I got to be honest. I got to talk about this real quick. So I've stated this several times in the couple of Clone Wars round, the 10, I don't know how many ones we've done, but whatever amount of Clone Wars episodes before this, all the roundtables we've done, I kept on saying, I need a Fives name drop that makes me emotional. I'm like, because he got shot and he's dead, and it makes me very sad. He's my favorite Star Wars character of all time. People are shocked when I say that, but he really is. And so when he died back in the Clone Wars Lost Missions, I think part of my soul did as well. So, you know, I always was hoping that they would acknowledge his sacrifice and what he did, because what he found out about Order 66, that's pretty huge and has very big implications, for the rest of the series and for Revenge of the Sith and the whole freaking saga, actually. So when Echo didn't mention Fives at all, I was kind of let down by that, and they have rectified that tenfold in this episode. I still would have liked him to mention Fives, because that was his dude. But right before we started this episode, me and Ross were on a call, and I'm like, dude, I need that Fives name drop. And the minute that Rex said his name, and like I realized that if it wasn't for Fives, Ahsoka would be dead. It's like it's mind-blowing that this character is still like almost alive in this arc, and because of him, Rex was able to warn Ahsoka, and now Rex is able to live because of this. So just round of applause for Fives. He did his best. He's still alive. I don't know why I'm using this very morbid screen here though. So
that's worse than my Anakin killing the younglings.
Like you're celebrating his death.
Right, it's not great. So
the missions, the nightmares, they're finally over. Thank God. He's dead.
That scene right there made you hate Fox even more than
I
everybody
hate
already
Fox,
hated.
dude.
Everybody
Fox
hates Fox,
sucks.
man. And then they go make a toy out of him.
You know
Dude,
what?
yeah.
Right, he deserves it. L3 would have had a piece of him.
Yeah.
Between Fox and Mace Windu, like they need to leave.
Mm.
But
They do.
all right, so Ross, I'm gonna start with you, buddy, as always. What were your initial thoughts about this episode? And
Man, so just after that first final, I guess not first, but the final trailer for the season, it was pretty easy to piece together what was going to happen, that they were all going to be on the Venator together, and Order 66 was going to come down, but there were some unknowns in there, right? That's what's making all of this so exciting. And despite knowing generally how this ends with each character, it's the unknowns of the story of how it plays out that has made the Siege of Mandalore so exciting, whether that was all the reveals from the Phantom Menace or here when Rex finally boards the Venator, where this goes down, still with his inhibitor chip in, and you know that it's going to go off and we're all going to be heartbroken. But I think, Kevin Kiner and his two sons working on these final episodes and this final season, not sure, who specifically contributed to which piece, but the score carries a lot of this episode on top of the stellar performances by Ashley, by Sam Witwer, by all of them. But man, the cold sense of dread and just the horrifying fear that they make you feel when this is going down, and just everything that happens in the episode, every emotional beat, Rex fighting off the inhibitor chip, the mentions of Fives, the Maul Rogue One scene was just phenomenal. No lightsaber either. I mean, it was, every scene in this episode was like a godsend. And if I could show this to my 9-year-old self, who never even thought the Clone Wars would extend into Revenge of the Sith, that we would one day in the year 2020, in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, mind you, get something like this, that kid would melt. It's just, this is the Clone Wars, as I keep saying, reaching its full potential, and it's like watching a dream, because none of this was ever supposed to happen.
Yeah. I think you really hit exactly what I was going to say.
Without it, we wouldn't exist.
I wouldn't know, Corey. It's technically true.
It's weird. Yeah. I mean, we've said this a lot on the show is, if it wasn't for Clone Wars, I wouldn't know any of you guys. And it's just so mind blowing to me that we're here at the finale. But no, I mean, showing this to our 9-year-old selves as the series was starting, it's just like, I would never have thought we'd see Order 66 or any of the story beats from that movie coming into play, and realizing that Ahsoka was actually a part of that movie, just kind of behind the scenes. And it's they've done such a great job putting it together and making it feel like one cohesive storyline. But Dom, what did you think of this episode?
Oh man, it was insane. It was so good. I this whole arc, I kind of can't believe how good it's been from start to finish. Like, obviously, I love the Clone Wars, and it's been one of my favorite aspects of Star Wars for pretty much since it started. And so I had really high expectations for the show and this final season, and yet it's somehow blowing them all out of the water. It's really incredible. And this episode in particular, I mean, like you guys are saying, that just the feeling of dread that is throughout the episode is just it's so powerful and it's so well done. And there's just a bunch of moments that we've been thinking about and imagining, like what would happen to Rex and Ahsoka during Order 66. And we've been thinking about them for over a decade now. And we're actually seeing them come to fruition. And they're somehow living up to our expectations and surpassing them. I don't remember another arc like this where every single aspect is better than we could have possibly imagined. On my show, we've been doing the Clone Wars Strikes Back, and we actually just recorded our episode earlier today. And Claire, I just got to say, it's been so long since I've seen you.
I know. It's been like, what, 3 hours?
Yeah, it feels like an eternity. So you can hear more of us discussing this episode over on the Clone Wars Strikes Back, not to shamelessly plug, but like just every episode, every episode, this arc has been like, every episode's just been us gushing over how good it is. Usually you can find one or two nits to pick, but this arc has just been, everything is just delivering, and it's just hats off to Dave Filoni and the crew for something really incredible. And even when we were sitting in that auditorium at Comic-Con, Corey, I don't think I even imagined it being this good. No. And that's saying something.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think when we saw the trailer we saw, if you guys recall, was the one where you see the helmets for everyone who's watching. If you guys don't recall, definitely look it up. And when we saw the end scene of a little peek of Siege of Mandalore, it was like our whole world's changed, right? Because, we realized it was happening, and seeing that scene a couple weeks ago was mind blowing. But I think another scene from this episode that totally made me realize, wow, this series came back, is when Ahsoka and Bo shake hands, because that was originally a sketch we saw from Dave years ago, and it was shown as like, this is never going to happen, but this is what we were going to do. And it really sucked, to see that, and that kind of made me emotional watching that moment.
Not to keep plugging my podcasts, Corey.
Go right ahead. No, go right ahead.
Not my intention to come on here and just say, go listen to my shit. But we had, I know you guys talked to Ashley Eckstein recently, and we had her on our show about 2 weeks ago on the Star Wars Underworld podcast. And I remember I asked her about the moment at Celebration London when Dave Filoni described that sequence with Captain Rex and the Ahsoka troopers from the first episode of this arc. And he described it, and Ashley was on stage and she was crying about it. She was so emotional hearing it. And, she said, like, she didn't even believe that we would get to see this. And so those tears were like, it's emotional. The scene is emotional, but it was also like tears of sadness, because this was never going to happen. And we were all, even being in that room at the time, we were all a little bitter that like, oh yeah, we're never going to see it. And then, a couple years later, here we are.
No, for sure. I think that was always my frustration with, like, I loved watching those panels, but as soon as they ended, I was just like, damn, well, guess we're never seeing that. But Chad, where's your head at, buddy?
Actually, I recently watched that again, the Celebration Europe thing, and I don't think Dave even noticed or knew that was going to happen, because he really gave us the whole story. He kind of gave it away for us, but he has the power. He definitely has the power.
The power of Dave.
To surprise us, man. The power of Dave to surprise us. On our show, what we did on Customizing the Clone Wars is we constantly talked about characters and where they were going to go. It was always the big three. It was Rex, Ahsoka, and Ventress, and we never even knew that it was going to, add Maul to it, and even Bo-Katan. There was that beautiful thing where they take a character and then you learn about this character, and they flip them on their head, and they're like, we're going to do something totally different, and then they're going to end up at the end, and you're going to be so surprised by the time you're at the end of the story. And that's the power of Dave. That's why he's just doing an amazing job. I mean, he just blew me away today. I mean, the music mostly is what I want to talk about, because I think Kevin was taking beats from from Vangelis, the Blade Runner soundtrack. I don't know if you ever heard that. Check it out. It's beautiful. You know, it sounded like it, and it felt like it, and it gave me that deep kind of connection to that dread you were talking about, Ross. Just, oh my gosh, I saw it coming, and just all the feels that were coming out of there. I watched this all day. I couldn't stop watching it because it was just so foreboding and just everything that was happening with it, you know, and we'll get into it, you know. Oh my gosh, I have so much to say about it. It was just phenomenal. I just cried all day. I really did. You know, I'm a crier. But
this is a great therapy session then.
It really was
is not
great.
only therapy, but we also are plugging all of our shows and podcasts.
That's right.
Exactly right.
It's just a testament to where we started to where we're at now. You know, I got this poster back here, you know, and it just plays on all those beats, and you just, we go through years and years and years, and you just like, here we are at the end of it, and it's just phenomenal. It's phenomenal. 100%. So, yeah.
Claire, how are you doing?
You know, I'm doing all right. I think talking about it is helping quite a bit. I was mentioning earlier on the Star Wars Underworld podcast. I like to joke about being an asthmatic person, a very, very asthma-ridden person who will use any excuse not to participate in any sort of cardiovascular activity whatsoever. And after I woke up, made a cup of coffee, watched the episode, and I was like, I need to run. That's literally, and I went outside and I ran and I puffed my inhaler and I felt terrible, but I needed some sort of like attempt at an endorphin high. And for anybody who is watching this who may like paint their fingernails or get like, this may not apply to many people watching this, but I had 2 completely manicured hands. I spent the entire day going like this, watching these episodes, and just like I can't sit down and watch it back to back because I just feel so overcome with emotion with some of the characters that I connect to the most, my girl Ahsoka, and with Rex specifically.
Yeah.
And there are so many moments in this, in the performance, in the animation, that especially with those 2 characters, that I was like, this is painful to watch. It just rips my heart out, and I am a crier as well. So it was just a lot of puffy eyes and a lot of mucus. It wasn't a very pretty cry. It was just like everything's coming out.
That's the perfect one though. That's the perfect one. That's when you know they got you.
It's God damn you, Dave, but you're so good.
So good.
Power of Dave.
The power of Dave. I'm just so thankful that so much. It's so clear that every single person who worked on this season of Clone Wars and in Star Wars animation in general, but especially in this last arc, from the animators to Kiner to Dave to the voice actors, you can tell that this is everybody's bearing their soul and putting every drop of passion into every tiny detail. And it's just, if it hurts so good.
It does. Yeah.
I think it sets a new standard, right? It has raised the bar, and I think it would be a shame just to come down from this, you know, because I think this is really like taking Star Wars to all new heights.
Yep.
And it's really inspiring to see.
Oh yeah. Fred, we are massive Fives fans, so how are you doing?
I'm hurting still. I'm not gonna lie. Claire, I did something very similar to you. I woke up, I got coffee, and I took maybe 3 sips of it, and I went out and I worked on yard work for about 4 hours. I was like, I have to get this all out. I can't. I wanted to run, and I was like, I'm not gonna make it. I'm just gonna do yard work.
I nearly didn't make it. I get it.
I had to customize and like do schoolwork to try and like, I was like, you know what? I need to do like all of my week's Chinese work in 2 hours right now.
Yeah, if you go for a run after watching this, man, you have to play Anakin's Betrayal and pretend like you're running from clones.
Oh
Why
my
do you hurt
God.
me? Why do you hurt me like this?
I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
No, you know what Ross has been doing all day is we've been on a call pretty much all day, and we're sitting there, you just turn on Anakin's Dark Deeds at full volume because you know it's gonna get me. every time.
I have been doing that to him all day.
You're a masochist, sir. You really are.
Both tracks are just
Anakin's
crushing.
Dark Deeds is kind of that whole portion with Rex and Ahsoka. As soon as it all happens, that broke me beyond what I thought I could be broken. And I'm not a crier. I don't cry. And I think I've only cried maybe twice when it comes to Star Wars things. And it's not like that deep, heavy sob. I was a wreck, man. I was freaking out. That whole thing. And the one thing I want to talk about is with Rex that I did not pick up on my first viewing. The second time I watched it, I cried even harder. I was like on the floor rolling around.
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah.
I know what he's gonna say too.
That-
I'm not ready for it.
The tear, man.
Yep.
The tear coming down. I was like, no. That broke me.
Shuddering, shaking the guns. You know.
Oh man, yeah. He's just unstable. You can
Dude,
see
it's getting me emotional just like listening to
No.
it.
It's awesome.
And then on top of that, another thing I picked up like the fourth viewing, I think I've watched it like 7 times today. I noticed when Darth Sidious gives the order and Rex is talking to him, you can see his pupils dilate and go back to normal. And I'm like, oh crap, it's really happening now. I thought I was ready, but I'm not. And I think another thing with just this arc and really this whole season in general, you watch an episode and you say, there's nothing better than that. Nothing's going to top that. And then you watch the next week and you're like, okay, nothing's going to top that one.
Right.
And with how this is making all of us feel, I am extremely nervous about my mental health for next week. I don't know what any of us are going to do.
You only have one weekend, dude.
Hey,
Yeah, we'll
right.
have 2 days.
Right, it's Monday. I'm not
I
going to be
ha-
recovered by Monday.
I have to go to work after watch because I can't wait until the end. I don't.
me too.
I don't care. I
I
don't know
feel
how
like
it's
it's just
gonna
come
go.
up so fast. It's just like it's just we're already at the end of the Clone Wars. The series is just 2 days and we're done.
It's went by in the blink of an eye. It's been lightning quick.
Oh yeah.
I told Corey at the beginning of this it would be. I knew it. It was just going to be blink, gone, and we're already at the end, man. It's weird. It's weird.
Dan Curto, my friend, you said that you cried during the first episode of this arc. So how did this go for you?
Well, I didn't cry this time.
Okay.
So that was pretty good. Before I jumped in here, I just finished watching it for the 3rd time in a row because as I told you, I had to work today. So I came home, ate dinner, spent a little time with the wife, then sat down and then watched it 3 times. Just wow, right? I don't know what you guys said before I jumped on here, but the soundtrack to this leading up to Order 66, very Blade Runner, very Dark Knight style. Just I'm on the edge of my seat. I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. And then there's no sound. And then there's like action sounds and she's with her lightsabers. And I'm like, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And I also really, I'm sure you talked about the rest of it, but I also really loved how she freed Maul and says, sick 'em. This is like Captain America saying, Hulk, smash.
Right.
Yeah.
And Maul going down that hallway is just as fantastic as Darth Vader going down that hallway in Rogue One.
Oh, that was
candy.
Absolutely.
And then
he did it with
speaking of
no
Rogue One,
lightsaber too.
I'm one with the Force and the Force is with me. I'm like,
Oh,
what? I wasn't expecting her to say that.
Yeah.
That was another freak out moment, 100%.
I wasn't expecting things like as you mentioned in like that hall scene. I did not expect things to get that crazy. Like he launches that panel and you see those heads drop, and I was like, oh, we're going there.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going there.
But I
He's got
love
dirty
that
real
he's
quick.
like-
Yeah.
he automatically assumes you're going to come with me and together we're going. She's like, no.
Yep.
I'm in
Cool.
control of this situation, Maul, not you. You think you're gonna like boss me around? No.
He
Get out.
started monologuing and she's like, no.
Right. And the thing is, like, prior to that scene, like prior to any of this going down, she's meeting with the Jedi Council and Mace Windu especially. What a dick. He's like trying to dismiss her, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't be."
Mace
part of this."
sucks.
You're a citizen.
Right.
Yeah,
Bless
he's an
Mace.
asshole, man.
This just backs up like the fact that the Jedi, I hate to say it, for the most part, their downfall happened because of really just blindness to everything.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Mace is like number one up there. You know what? Now, Kiadi-Mundi.
You deserve to go through
Hey,
that
but
one.
so you got Kiadi-Mundi, you got Ayla Secura, and you got Yoda, and those are three of the most prominent deaths in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
I'm like, are we going to see that next week? Because
Right.
I said before, I kind of want to see like
I
scenes
wonder.
from episode 3. Done
Yes.
I don't think we're gonna get it. I thought
Oh
we
my
because
God.
it's supposed to be the Order 66 episode, and if they
Right.
focus just on Rex and Ahsoka, I
It's
think
not.
this is
Yeah.
you know,
They've
Revenge of the
told
Sith
me-
is gonna deal with the
Right.
montage, and
Right.
then we're just gonna get the Rex and Ahsoka, which
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I'm okay with.
But if anything, we might get a small montage because we know that Plo and Ahsoka have that connection.
Right.
And I was really hoping to see something with that in this episode.
Yeah.
So maybe at the very beginning of the next episode, we might get something like that.
Yeah, in terms of Order 66, I mean, it's, you know, I thought it would close out in this episode and like maybe Ahsoka and Rex would have already gotten off the Venator. So I'm thinking that they're really going to save the heavy hitting scenes for the series finale. And that makes sense. So I could totally see them
It's going to get
starting.
even worse.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I bet. It's going to be awful. It's going to be devastating. So I could
Think
totally
we've been
see
crying
it.
now.
Oh, yeah. No.
I forget who
Um,
said it, but it just every week in this arc has been better than the previous week. And
Oh,
you just-
yeah.
You're like here. There was like the Bad Batch, then there was the really stupid Sisters Act, and then there was like every week just gets better and better and
Yeah.
better. And better. It's like,
Oh,
my
for
God.
sure. Elias, what did you think all in all?
I thought I was gonna cry a little more, and you know, I think I cried a little bit on my second viewing, but I cried to like weird stuff, you know,
Okay.
like there was like that audio tie-in with like the scene in Revenge of the Sith,
Mhm.
and like you know they're at the window, and he's like unlimited power, da, da, da. Like that got me for some reason. I was like, it's happening, they're connecting, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
And then another one that got me was another weird one when Ahsoka's like, "Are you okay?" and Rex is just, like shaking. He's like, "I'm alright, kid." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
It's intense.
And how
Brian,
great is that with Matt Lanter,
All
by
right.
the way?
This might be my only input, I guess, to the podcast because I'm gonna have to get off. I have to be up at 4 a.m. for work. But
no worries, buddy.
the thing that stuck out to me was Rex's reaction to Ahsoka not talking to the Jedi Council about what Maul had told her about Anakin. And there was almost like a look of like Rex was disappointed or somewhat disapproving that she didn't mention it. And it kind of made me think about the Bad Batch arc where Rex, you know, was hiding things for Anakin and his relationship with Padme. And it almost gave me the impression that somewhere deep down inside of Rex, he might have believed that there might have been some truth to Anakin going to the dark side. And he
Oh,
almost
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
felt like he wished she had said something to the council about that.
Oh, I like that. I think that's very
It
valid.
wasn't even anything that was said, but it was a look in his eyes and a pause that they really focused on
Yeah.
after, you know, and he voiced like, what, you know, how come you didn't mention that? Like he felt like it was noteworthy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I agree. I was shocked that Ahsoka even told him. So, you know, I thought maybe that'd be something she'd keep to herself until talking with Anakin. So it's interesting. Yeah, like you said, that Rex knows that. And I think about Rebels, and I just wonder if maybe Rex ever had any thought that Anakin was Vader, you know, because now maybe he does know in his own way.
Yeah.
Without really knowing.
And then I noticed on your reaction this morning that you guys felt like it kind of ruined the connective tissue with Vader.
A little bit.
Ahsoka and Vader, but I just felt like if you put Anakin and Ahsoka, Anakin and Vader next to each other, you wouldn't really know they were the same person because Anakin wasn't publicly Darth Vader, except for to the Separatists, you know, when he's going to Mustafar, and then after that, he's like a big robot-looking thing. So,
Sure, no, I can understand. I think
and you
the
would think
one
someone
thing,
like Palpatine have a lot of backups as far as like apprentices or people who would come to the forefront if baby Anakin died during Order
And
66.
by the time Rebels had come around, there had been so many Inquisitors. It would seem like obvious that
Yeah.
Force
I could buy into that. Yeah, because that's true. Vader is definitely not the same physique as Anakin is. So I could see that.
Yeah. And there's
But
also
I do have
like
to go, everybody. I'm definitely gonna listen to you guys in the morning when I wake up,
buddy.
On my drive to work.
All right, take care.
Good night.
All right, good night.
Bye-bye.
Now, there's also totally like the kind of trend that our Jedi tend to go on is the Sith masters and apprentices tell the truth. It's not the truth the Jedi want to hear, and they will repress it. Count Dooku deliberately tells Obi-Wan, "Hey, yo, this guy Darth Sidious, he's kind of hanging out in the shadows," and he's like, "No way." Ignores it for a while, and then
literally 2 days ago I was like, I'm gonna rewatch the prequels, and I'm sitting and I'm working on my digital art, and I was like, you know what, it's like 9 at night, so you know what, that's a good time to watch Attack of the Clones. and Count Dooku's like, what if I told you that the Sith Lord you're looking for was in charge of the Senate right now and is playing both sides of this, war? And everyone's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, oh, but you should.
Right there. Like Dooku outright tells Obi-Wan, Maul outright tells Ahsoka, yo, Anakin's gonna be the apprentice, and think about Empire Strikes Back. Vader's like, oh, by the way, I'm your dad, and Luke needs a little bit of time to adjust to that one too. Woogie. Man, gotta love those Sith. They tell you the truth. It's just not the truth.
They got the denial of the Jedi.
It's like mind games, baby.
You also have not even just the Sith, but dark side users in general. Like we have Kylo telling the story to Rey of what really happened between him and Luke, more so than what Luke told Rey. So it's kind of a trend with the Jedi lie and Sith truth.
Just the heroes are more deceiving in this case, in Star Wars in general.
There you go. Yeah. Jesse, what did you think of this episode?
I was able to sleep on it, so it's good that I was able to watch it twice last night and then go to bed and sort of sleep on it and sort of think about it a little bit more this morning. But the whole first act of the episode with the sort of everything was very muted, and we had that very haunting sort of music going along with it, like a couple of people have mentioned. It almost felt like the scene in Revenge of the Sith, the Padme's ruminations. The moment of the score, like it felt like that. Like it just felt like a bomb was dropping and you're just waiting for that explosion to happen. And when it did, I felt like this is probably the most emotional. I didn't cry. I held on all right. But it hit me so hard that it took me back to 2005, sitting in the cinema watching Revenge of the Sith for the first time and being completely and utterly shattered by it. And I felt that again last night watching this episode a couple of times, and it really hit hard. But overall, the episode was just absolutely stunning to watch again. Like this, I didn't think it could get any better than last week, but it has been. Every week has been getting better and better.
Oh yeah, no, I think like you said, taking it back to Revenge of the Sith, it's like we're in 2005 again, because today I'm trending on Twitter, Order 66 is trending, and it's mind-blowing to see.
What a world! What a world we live in.
It's
I'm trying to
amazing.
take some screenshots of the Clone Wars and Order 66 trending and things like that. And I mean, even I haven't been too great about it, but even just screenshotting StarWars.com with the Clone Wars all over the homepage.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't had that in so many years, and this is the last time we're going to have that. And so I think it's special. I hope more people are better at screenshotting it than I've been.
Oh, for sure. Eric?
Man, how do I even begin? The past 2 weeks for our Siege Mandalore roundtables, I mentioned how each episode, it feels like it is getting more suspenseful, and you are just on the edge of your seat because you know that this massive climax is about to happen, and your heart is just pounding constantly the entire time. And this episode was that climax. It was just a straight out horror movie. It was, there are so many episodes of the Clone Wars that are just so thrilling and horrifying, but this has got to be at the top. And It just what do I say? It genuinely did feel like a horror movie, and it also did great things for Ahsoka's character. One of my favorite lines is when she says to Rex about how the Jedi are supposed to be peacekeepers, and and it comes right before Mace Windu outs her as a Jedi, and throws that shit in her face that she's a citizen. And one of my favorite things about that, thankfully this came out after we know that Ahsoka, where Ahsoka's path goes in Rebels, is to know that she left the Jedi Order, but is still doing the most Jedi thing a Jedi can do throughout the rest of her life. And I almost parallel it to the way Luke left the Order and came back and did the most Jedi thing anyone could do in The Last Jedi. And another thing I want to mention is that before Order 66 happens, Dave is constantly showing the profiles of clones, and he's not showing them straight on, and you just see it on the side. And all I could think about was the inhibitor chip inside, and that was just perfect because it just raised the adrenaline, and I was terrified because I knew that the clock was ticking. It felt like a bomb was underneath the table and it's about to go off, and the timer, and when it goes off, it was insane. It was genuinely amazing. From a technical standpoint, every technique they used it just struck thrill into everyone. It was the most thrilling episode that we've had. I do like the second episode a little bit more, but like when we get the fourth and final episode on Monday and you watch this whole thing as a movie, I hope they recut into a movie, because
I hope
this
so too.
would by far be number one on all of my Star Wars rankings.
Yes.
Without a question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to just real quickly add with the clones, with kind of what you were saying, is this was the first, I loved how Dave did this, where the clones were just completely gone. I mean, there was no recognizable elements to them the minute Order 66 happens. And it was so haunting just to see Jesse walking in with his clones and just shooting at Ahsoka. And you're thinking, wow, all these friends of Ahsoka all of a sudden. And it's so sad seeing her expression, right? Like when Rex drops the helmet, the first thing I thought was, the first thing that's probably going through her head is, oh, something happened to Anakin. Like, that's the first thing I thought of, is she must think something happened.
Just want to say, when he dropped the helmet, that was another moment that made me cry. I was like,
yeah, and the struggle that Rex faces in that moment.
Oh yeah, I felt like that almost like spoke to his character, because like I feel like he's not like the rest of the clones. I think most of them would have gotten that order and just been like pop, but he was like the struggle.
That's what made it so heartbreaking. It was, oh man, they really just played the chords there, man.
Right.
And what
going off what you were saying, Corey,
yeah.
No, I was just saying what he went through with Fives, and with that conversation he has with Ahsoka immediately before it happens, about how they both feel so conflicted about the war, but thankful that it has brought life for Rex, and Ahsoka is forever changed for having him in her life. It's just like, and then he knows that something is wrong, that because of his situation with Fives, and just oh my god.
Yeah. Going off of what a few of you were saying,
do you think for a second that maybe he wasn't going to turn?
I was hoping, but I knew it couldn't be.
I thought Rex was going to be like one of those exceptions, like the clone from the canon comic that actually breaks the hold with the inhibitor chip. But I mean, the thing about it is, I cannot believe how well Dave wrote the inhibitor chips and how they work with the clones. And Corey and I have been talking about it all day. The inhibitor chips are new to the story, but are linked in seamlessly with episode 3, because in episode 3 it doesn't really seem like it's bothering the clones. They're just executing an order. They're not conflicted about it. But and then the inhibitor chips, I thought that maybe they would be like good soldiers following good soldiers follow orders. They would be muttering and kind of like losing it, or being robotic, or losing the motion. But inhibitor chip activates, Order 66 instantly rationalized in their brain, this is just what they have to do. business as usual. This is normal. And it was just so well done because that's also how the clones were in Revenge of the Sith, and it just links in seamlessly. With the
a
Yeah,
little bit
and
like Winter Soldier. You know,
yes,
if you look at that, it's like it's called something. It's like audio transmission or something like that. Or auditory transmission. That's why I knew they were going to, you know, Rex was going to commit Order 66. I just had that feeling because, you know, it's like something going off in his head. You know?
So before I get on to the next, I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
No, don't worry about it. You go.
No, go ahead. You go.
I just wanted to say, like, you know, talking about the performances, you know, obviously, you know, Ashley and Dee bring it to a whole nother level each episode. They're constantly just at their prime, and it's amazing. But I gotta shout out the animators, because there is just as much of a performance, more so in this episode, in the facial expressions of the characters than in any other Clone Wars episode, and that is what got to me. You know, it was an emotional roller coaster for me. You know, as many of you have mentioned with Rex in the single tear and the eyes just flickering, and he's you know, he's losing it, and you can see him shaking. You know, obviously Dee's performance voiceover was phenomenal, but I mean, the way it was shown visually and the way it was animated, the expression, it felt so natural. You know, a lot of people have edited together with scenes from Revenge of the Sith, and it also it doesn't feel like you're watching a cartoon and a live action movie. It feels like one continuous story, and I think that just speaks to the power of Clone Wars, and as you guys mentioned, Dave, the almighty.
Exactly.
You know, are we forgetting to mention like Maul's whole Hannibal Lecter setup when he was like out of that box? Like,
oh man,
we're talking about Order 66, and then there's Maul in this box, pissed off.
Yeah, not just that, but
snatch some wigs.
I love the anxiety and the fear that you could just see in Maul's eyes. Just his expression was like, okay, here it is. It's about to happen. And, you know, even when he's communicating with Ahsoka through the... Actually, before I get into more plot details, Dan Grievous, what did you think of this episode?
Oh, thank you. I loved it. I mean, for totally different reasons from why I love the previous two episodes. Still, episode 9 is my favorite. But the reason is why I love this episode more than the previous one is because it just... I didn't know what was going to happen at all. Just, I know where we're going to end up in Rebels and stuff, but I didn't know how we're going to get there. And there were so many little moments that just, like, you've all touched upon them, especially the music. Like, that's the most shining moment. Like, the previous episode was the duel with Maul. That was the shining moment, that hands down, just the best. But now the music is the star of this episode. And even the most, like the thing that there were actually 4 that I didn't think I was gonna be like, because I was personally preparing for this episode in advance. I mean, I replayed the Order 66 sequence from Jedi Fallen Order just for good measure, and I made predictions on Twitter who's gonna die, so I would be devastated in advance and prepare for the worst. But that didn't make me just lose my mind when Ahsoka got attacked. And that whole moment, like, Dave Filoni and Kevin Conner just pulled the rug under me from that whole moment, because I was expecting Anakin's betrayal. That was like from Revenge of the Sith, Order 66 sequence. But instead, they played the music that plays during this sequence where Anakin is crying on Mustafar, and we see all the corpses of the Separatist leaders. And in a way, I think Dave is saying to us, in a way, through the music, thanks to Kevin Kiner, that this is because of Anakin that this is happening. He allowed the Palpatine to defeat Mace Windu and execute Order 66. And that's why Ahsoka is being attacked during this moment with this music playing in the background. And I didn't expect that. And so many little details, like just... And this is why I love this arc so much. I mean, I'm still not sure. I don't want to make any rash decisions and just say, oh, this is my number one arc, just without seeing the last episode. I mean,
sure,
but every episode, like this is why the Clone Wars does these arcs so well. Like, every arc that has each individual episode be so unique to itself and self-contained, and yet part of a bigger story is a better arc in my opinion. Like there are some arcs in the Clone Wars that like even the Martez sisters arc, like that things happen and each episode has something that repeats itself. While
Right.
this has nothing to do with the previous one and has nothing to do in terms of story beats or
Yeah, it's
events that
constantly
happen.
moving. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes, and there was nothing like the previous one was a battle moment. Like this one is just a horror movie. Like, and the Clone Wars
Right.
is excellent at doing horror. We've seen it
Oh,
with
yeah.
Voyage of Temptation, where the disgusting droids from the Separatists that just use the clones as marionettes. So, and even the Worms episode from season 2, from that moment, from that episode, I've been waiting to see how the Clone Wars was going to execute Order 66, and now we have, I mean, 10 years later, but we have our complete version of the Clone Wars is Order 66, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. It's the way they executed Order 66. I did not even mean to say it that way, but the way that they the way that they did was something I don't think I would have thought of, like it's well, first and foremost with Order 66, George had always said that he didn't really want to go right into Revenge of the Sith. So I always just thought that we would never get that. And then when Dave started talking a little more about Siege of Mandalore, what was going to be about, seems like George changed his mind at some point and decided to go all in. But just to circle back to what we were talking about Maul and him and the Hello Greedo said the best analogy from what was it, Ross? It was when he was in the box.
He was in like a human envelope.
Yeah, right. That was great.
Pretty good. I love the story behind that, by the way. When Bo says we used to use these to hold you Force maniacs, and it's like, man, I love that because to me, as kind of a bit of an EU buff, it was just like, man, she's got to be talking about Darth Revan, Mandalorian Wars. Like, man, that's what those had to have been used for. That's it. That's my headcanon.
It makes sense.
How Bo shined in that whole sequence too. Like you could really feel everything that she was saying. This whole arc, she gets a chance to shine a little bit more for one final time, which was nice to see.
Yeah, I love those shots of Bo and Gar Saxon staring each other down as the two of them are walking past each other.
It's exactly what I was
Oh,
thinking.
my sweet Gar.
Yeah, they had to show your hunger again, right?
Call me, buddy. I'm still waiting. Still waiting on my phone call. I don't care if you're fictional.
Yep.
Oh man,
I got my own theory about Paul. Actually, I think he is us. He is the
awesome.
Look at that.
Lego
that is
Gar.
sweet.
It's actually
That's
a
cool.
makeshift. That's not even a full-blown custom. But
I think Maul. I have my own theory about Maul. I think he has evolved into us. He's breaking the fourth wall because he's almost humorous. He's like, I can't wait to see what happens. I can't wait. Let's see what happens. And he's watching it with us. He's like, I don't know how this is going to play out, but this is great. And every time they had like a little key, a fact or something that they figured out, you heard these little 3 bars. It was like, doom, 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 and you figured out something else. And he's just like, this is brilliant. I love this. And
he's Salieri in Amadeus. He's literally just like, I don't know how we did it.
That is
it. And then he's reading all the pages of it. Like,
that's Darth Maul in this. That's what he's become. He's become this person that just sits there with us, enjoying it, watching it play out. I've never rooted for Maul more than this episode.
Yeah, and it's funny because like when he gets out of the prison or the block,
the person
right away, he's just laughing. He's just like, wow, this is the plan. This is what I was told about, but not in full detail. This is so smart.
Yeah. And it's not even that he didn't tell him in full detail. Palpatine didn't tell Maul anything. He kept Maul confined, sometimes left Maul on like a mountain on Megiddo for a couple months and just came back to see if he was still alive. I mean, he kept Maul so out of the loop. He didn't know anything. He never even knew Plagueis existed. He didn't know anything.
I'm starting to think he didn't even know he was Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think he clearly doesn't even know that it's Sheev, that the Chancellor is actually Darth Sidious. He hasn't quite clicked that together yet, but I love that, man, because that's so satisfying for Maul's character that finally he gets the full picture and he's just floored by it. And I like it too because Dave also used it as an opportunity to ease and kind of relieve that anxiety he had from the Phantom Menace or the Phantom Apprentice, getting used to that still. The Phantom Apprentice, he's like anxiety stricken and partially panicking because he knows it's about to happen, but he only got glimpses. He doesn't actually know how it's going to happen. He's kind of freaking out. And that's why Ahsoka's able to best him. But then in this episode, now that he's got a grasp on it and he does know how Palpatine's going to do it, he's all in. He's all for it. He's ready to go. I mean, he's excited.
Oh yeah, he's like, I think he sees Order 66 and the shift of power and like the destruction of a Jedi as a total power vacuum. And he can see that like when this like old system of law and order falls, everything's going to be chaos. It's going to be confusing. And in that chaos and confusion, he can take power and kind of like establish Crimson Dawn for his own personal gain.
Yeah, can we just talk about how awesome it was that Ahsoka was not giving him the time of day?
Like, I love that. She's like, I'm a strong, independent woman. Okay.
Yeah, she was phenomenal. Like, I mean, I love
like, yeah, just because I let you out of that Nokia, bro, like, that doesn't mean I like you, okay?
I mean, when she said, choose your next words carefully, I'm like, damn, Ahsoka, like, the last episode she told Bo when Almac wasn't giving them any answers, like, Bo, make him remember. Like, Ahsoka does not care. She is just all in.
Oh, yeah, the gloves are off now.
And I love it how she's still like that, even though clearly something very serious is going down. And Maul was clearly telling, at least in part, the truth. Still, no, she's still not sure about Anakin, but it's like he was telling the truth, and she can kind of tell now and see that, but he's still not getting a lightsaber.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I think okay, so you know, we get those sequences, and let's get into Order 66 now again. Yeah, so no, I mean, so the way that the whole scene plays out, I love it where Ahsoka and Rex are on the command bridge talking about, you know, what we've seen in the trailers where Rex talks about how if it wasn't for the war, he would never even be alive. And Ahsoka's talking about how she just feels like she's a soldier as she was a Jedi. And I love that, you know, it's a great little moment between them. And then they salute each other, which I think was phenomenal. And then the minute that clone officer came out and said, we have a transmission, I'm like, oh shit. It's about to go down. And then we see Rex walk into that room, and then of course we cut back to Maul, and his eyes just shoot open when the Revenge of the Sith dialogue starts. And I never ever thought we would hear Hayden Christensen's voice.
Right.
Clone Wars
they mixed it up. They did Hayden's
and Matt.
And they had
Perfect.
Matt
Perfect.
do one of Hayden's lines.
Yeah.
What have I done?
The last words of I think were Matt Lanter's.
Yes. Hearing Matt say that dialogue was gut wrenching.
And
because
they got important, man, because it takes the two versions of Anakin and links them together in the
Oh,
end.
I thought they did it because Hayden's "What have I done" just kind of sucked a little bit.
Shots fired.
No.
What have I done?
But all right.
Yeah, I've always loved Hayden's line. Yeah. But I think
there are much worse moments in Revenge of the Sith for him. But yeah,
there's but you know, me and Ross oh, go ahead, Don.
I was gonna say it kind of echoes the moment later in Rebels where you have a bit of James Earl Jones and a bit of Matt Lanter mixed together. Where anytime Ahsoka is interacting with these other Anakins, you know, Dave sneaks in a bit of Matt Lanter to make it really hit home, because you know we sometimes think about Ahsoka and the animated stuff as slightly separate from the live action stuff, and then when you put them together, sometimes it feels a little bit off, especially because we're used to seeing Ahsoka interact with a different Anakin, a very different performance from what Hayden gives. And so to then get those lines from Matt alongside the ones from Hayden or the ones from James Earl Jones, it just makes it hit home, and it makes it all feel more real and connected. And it's just another smart little way that Filoni and crew kind of ties everything all into one and makes these scenes work even more than they would on their own.
Right. And it's also like, I think the closest thing we'll ever get to a recreation of Revenge of the Sith, you know, and with these voice actors. And I I think that's great. I think that's great that we get a little taste of what that could be. But there was something so heartbreaking
Well-
hearing Clone Wars Anakin deliver that line. And Matt, I mean, props
it
to
made
Matt.
it made it feel really it made it feel like so much more real, because
Yeah.
kind of like what Dom was saying, it Revenge of the Sith in many ways still does feel a little bit separate. So just bringing in Matt for one line, man, just suddenly made it feel like this is also happening.
Right.
Not necessarily in the animated world, but it makes it all feel like the same.
This
You know,
reminded me of Mortis a little, because there was
Mm.
like there was that sequence where the son induced Anakin with that nightmare thing,
Right.
and we do hear like a lot of quotes from Revenge of the Sith, and James
Yeah.
Arnold Taylor also does like, "You're my brother, Anakin."
Right.
It's like,
Mm.
and I would just if I have to take it, I would just I prefer the Clone Wars ones.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't
I
know,
mean,
it's
it's yeah.
like they
I
put so much
agree.
more emotion at times. I mean, the like Ewan McGregor does his like best. He's like that scene on the lava river is just incredible, but I've seen people overdub them with lines from like Battlefront, like when like James Arnold Taylor and Matt Lanter have all the lines of Anakin and Obi-Wan from the Revenge
Yeah.
of the Sith, and it's incredible.
Well, and I also think it's something about following those characters for a longer period of time, right? So we're more adjusted now to those voices. And I think that's why it hits home so much when we hear them saying those
Yeah.
lines. And so I really do hope that in the next episode, I think we're going to get more of that. I think we're going to get a lot more tie-ins. And
More
one
Order
thing,
66?
yeah, I think we'll get some more Order 66.
Aren't we done with Order 66? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I think. I think it's kind of done. I think they're like, all right,
think
like
that
you know,
should
I
I don't
think
want to
they,
argue, but
I think they
Yeah.
felt that like Revenge of the Sith probably told it well enough, and they didn't want to tell the same story again. They wanted to be like, all right,
No.
we've introduced these characters
Yeah.
like Ahsoka and Rex, and we're gonna tell Order 66 through what's happening in their perspective, because that's
Yeah.
what this show's about. You've already
Yeah,
seen
but-
the Jedi die. We know it's gonna
Yeah.
hurt your feelings, so we're not gonna
Right.
do it again.
it depends. I mean, again, like with all due respect to Ahsoka and Rex, the Clone Wars was more than just about them. There were
Sure.
a lot of episodes that
Yeah.
focused nothing about Rex
They're
or Ahsoka.
the
There was
best,
nothing
though.
about. Like, if you think about
Yeah.
all the arcs about Asajj Ventress, or like the early episodes in season 1 where we had episodes about Kit Fisto, or one about just mainly focusing on Mace Windu. Like there were like it would be a missed opportunity. Like I was hoping for at least 30 seconds of something like flashes from other Jedi or
Yeah.
other characters during this event, because seeing this little bottled up event on this Venator is nice and all awesome, but again, it would have been even more painful to see other characters we've been following. Like if we see like Ryu Chuchi seeing from the Senate building a burning Jedi temple, that would have been like we've known this character to be friends with Ahsoka, and she's
Yeah.
seeing the temple burning, and all these little
Yeah.
nods would have been nice. I mean, I'm not complaining. I mean,
No,
these
I know,
little-
but I know what you're saying. I totally understand.
Yeah.
Like I feel the same way,
So-
and I
Yeah.
I really do think if I'm going to give my final prediction of the whole entire series of the Clone
Yeah.
Wars, my last prediction is we're going to get all of that next week. I think they're just saving
Yes,
the really heavy hitting scenes for the finale. I
Yes.
mean, it makes the most sense to.
Yeah,
I
I
hope-
don't know.
I hope you're
Order
right.
66
Let you
happens
guys
fast.
know, this is gonna hurt all of you very much, and you know, I think we all want Gunji to live. I know we
Yes,
all,
please, God.
but I don't think he will. You remember Sacrifice? The
Yeah.
episode with Yoda when he went and he saw all the Jedi who were like, and he's like, "Wait, you're dead. You can't be here." And then like all of them float away, like and wither
Yeah.
into like
yeah, but there was
ash.
also the
Gunji
scene-
was with them.
I
Gunji was
kinda-
with.
I kind of forgot that they actually did show the younglings dead, and that
That-
you're right.
They were on the
Ah,
floor with
I'm
Mace
gonna make
Windu. They were
I forgot
dead,
about
and there
that.
was-
I don't think
There's
they
a
make it.
close-up. There was a close-up with
I know.
Petro in that arc. I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
had, like that floating scene was nice. It was like especially seeing Qui-Gon Jinn again and everybody else. But after that, we have the hallway scene, and we have Battle of the Heroes ominously playing again. The score being a character on this brilliant show, and it just shows us all these younglings dead. I mean, the show has shown that it's not shy of from
Right.
being like painful to like.
Oh, they just
I'm-
proved that today, and they're not afraid to get
Uh-huh.
dark. We just saw like heads hit the floor. We saw arms get severed through
Oh
doors.
man,
Yeah,
our boy
we-
Ridge from the 2008 movie. Ridge, the comments got
Yes.
static when they're on the gunship about to climb up Teth, and now he just got decapitated, man. Like, 2008
Yeah.
Clone Wars movie, and here we are at the end, and the dude didn't make it.
Yeah,
No.
Dave sprinkled a bunch of names from previous clones that honestly I totally forgot about, like from the movie in season 1 and 2 in the 501st, and you just keep hearing them name dropped throughout this episode, and they're they're really deep cuts. So I mean, it's
Yeah.
It's so cool, man, because it's like nothing was left on the table really
Yeah.
for the Siege of Mandalore, and it shows. I mean, Dave took everything into account from Revenge of the Sith, from the rest of the series, from Attack of the Clones. I mean, anything that this arc needed, Dave was aware, and it's just so comprehensive, all of it. But I think, what Dan is bringing up is something that we've been bringing up on previous shows here before we got here, and now actually getting the episode and seeing that, yeah, they didn't do the montage animated, like basically the Order 66 montage from Revenge of the Sith, but animated. I found myself at the end of it kind of okay with that because I don't know where it would have fit in. Like the structure of the episode would have had to have been a little bit different for there to have been an opportunity for them to transition into the perspectives of newly added Clone Wars series characters and where they were in Revenge of the Sith, or just seeing Order 66 animated now. As important as it is, as those Jedi obviously now became with the Clone Wars, I just didn't see the opportunity in the episode where that could have fit in. And Order 66 happens kind of fast, and so I really do think that that ship is kind of sailed now.
Yeah,
But
no, I
the
mean,
only
I get
place I
that.
think it would have fit is between, like, if I have to choose between a Mandalorian helmet, because I'm like, Mandalorian's okay. I would have preferred between the moment when Rex walks towards the camera, and then
Just like
just
that.
to transition, then transition to maybe, I don't know which clone, like, like,
Jesse.
I don't know, somewhere like,
No, wait, that's not what you're talking about. No,
like I don't know. We have. By the way, have we gotten any clones? Oh, Wolf. I mean, would have been nice to see like Wolf's perspective, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Wolf and
more than
Gregory.
anything, more than just seeing like additional Jedi elsewhere in the galaxy getting gunned down, what I wanted to see, because I can already tell, I'm sure what Dave was thinking. Revenge of the Sith already covers the deaths of those Jedi. Let's not be redundant here and do that again. But you know what Revenge of the Sith doesn't cover in too much detail is the Jedi Temple raid. And now, with so much context added to the Jedi Temple raid in other canon
Dude,
books,
they better.
or
I don't
movies.
want to see that raid. I can't
But
do it.
how cool
I
would it
can't
be
do
to
it.
see the 501st in there against the Jedi, temple guards, and Anakin? You'd actually see Shakti's death. I mean, there was so much. Like you already got the deaths of the other important Jedi, but there was so much they could have done with the temple raid.
Yeah.
Next week,
That
dude,
I
I'm
would've loved.
telling you, it's good. I'm sorry, in a couple days.
Ross, you're making me
telling
cry
you.
just
I
like
don't think they're
thinking
gonna go
about the
back in,
raid
no.
before. Like the raid hasn't even happened, and I'm already crying.
Oh man, I don't
Just
know
a
if it's
couple
canon
days.
anymore, but what Anakin does to the guy who's at the front of the temple, it's like, oh my god.
Syndralic.
Yeah, no, the other guy, the bald guy with the weird
tattoos on his head.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I think
Ba-
it's
basically,
an
Anakin-
escape for Ahsoka and
I
Rey.
am not ready for a temple raid.
It's going to be
I
that thing.
mean-
It's going to be that thing they talked about in Celebration Europe. Where with the wolves. The whole
Yeah.
whole thing with the wolves. They're going to be on the run. I mean, do we know the title of next week's
Victory and Death.
Victory and Death? I think they might be on the run. I think with that art that Dave posted on was it Twitter? With them riding those wolves, I think it might be that whole big thing where they're on the run. And maybe we might see a couple more, like Caleb Doom. We might see him get away from those clone troopers that were in the comic book or whatever. But I think you guys were on to something when you said, the Order 66 thing kind of sailed. We already heard it because we heard Anakin's theme, on the temple, from Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
When Maul was attacking, or maybe it was the clones were attacking. You could hear that same theme. So I think that was congruent in time,
Well, I think that the next episode is going to be significantly longer, And the only reason I
yeah.
say that is there was an interview that came out today with Dave where he talked to, Entertainment Weekly asked him specifically if the series finale would be longer, and he kind of dodged the question as he usually does.
Classic
So,
Dave.
Classic Dave, yeah.
Classic Dave.
So he
Whole other
said,
hour. Wow.
he said that Disney Plus allows them to make longer episodes, and that's all he said. So I think
Fingers
we're gonna
crossed.
get a nice. The Rebels finale was 46 minutes long.
Yeah.
So
That was 2 episodes, though, right?
yeah, but they combined it into one. So stop it,
I'm
Ross.
I'm less optimistic. I'm sorry.
Stop it.
I do have like a question for like where we see this going. Do you think they're gonna try to end this show on like a hopeful note, or are they gonna leave us in darkness?
The darkness.
No, I think that. No,
I think
it's gonna
hopeful.
It's gonna be
There'll
like
be a
Revenge of the
glimmer, a
Sith.
glimmer of hope.
Well, yeah, they'll be,
Right.
but I think for the most part, like at the end, of course. But
Are they gonna give us like Vader at the end, and we're just gonna be like?
I have a
I
theory.
think Vader's inevitable at this point because I mean the Clone Wars is going right through Revenge of the Sith and up until the
Yeah.
end of it. I think we
Yeah.
are going to get a shot of Vader.
Yeah,
I think
I
it would
agree.
be a complete
sure.
waste not to.
Do you guys think we're
that
gonna
they
get
have
a?
to.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you can go ahead. You're good.
Do you guys think we're gonna get any kind of shot of Wolf and Gregor removing their inhibitor chip or something?
I think we'll see them. I think
I
we'll see
hope so.
them.
I hope so. Because
I'm
I'm
in
in the minority here
because
where I love Gregor and so does George. George is on the Star Wars show. He said his favorite arc is the droid arc with Gregor.
Yeah, it's a great
And
arc.
like, listen, I'm in the minority. I have no problem with that arc, and I love Gregor. I think I'm the only, other than George, I'm like the only person that likes that arc.
Oh no, I
I
love
love
it.
it. I love that arc.
Okay, so I got
like
two
it a
more.
lot.
Okay.
Well,
I gotta
the thing is,
say,
I
I'm
love
really
to see
hopeful
Gregor.
that like I really hope everything that you said is like combined and becomes true, because like if Rebels deserves a long goodbye, then the Clone Wars deserve that tenfold. Like
100%.
Yeah.
like it's Disney Plus. Like even I got messages from friends who are not like acquainted about the sizes and the like limitations of Disney Plus. They asked, Dan, this was an incredible episode, but it felt short, and it's actually longer than standard Clone Wars episodes. But
Yeah, it
because
is.
there was so much happening, it just fly out like this. It happened so fast.
They're
In like
dense.
Order 66.
Yeah.
The
And I
pacing
really
has
hope that,
never been this good in
like-
Clone Wars. It's
Yeah.
it's amazing.
And I really hope they go the HBO route, and like I know I'm like pushing it, but like is an hour too much to ask for this show to end on a
I don't
proper
think
way?
so. I think
Never know.
I think we're gonna get an hour.
An
Yeah.
hour would be great, but I see it more being like a 35 to 45 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's
More
more
likely.
realistic.
I
take,
would,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
honestly, I would say the limit's probably 35 if we're being hopeful. But I mean, the thing about Siege of Mandalore and a big part of what I think has made this so great. I mean, who knows how it really went down or what the timeline was for production of how long Dave had for the scripts before they really kicked into gear with this. But man, it's just, yes, they did Bad Batch and the Walkabout, but clearly all the effort was intended primarily for Siege of Mandalore because
totally.
I mean, this was just a golden opportunity to end the series, and Dave was given, from the looks of it, ample time to take their initial ideas all the way and just, if you want to end the Clone Wars, how do you want to do it? And that's what Siege of Mandalore is. It is Dave having been given free reign to finally end the series on his terms, pull out all of the stops, think about the most comprehensive story with the most details. I mean, write it to the best of his ability. It's just the Siege of Mandalore has everything. And I don't know where I was going with that or why I brought this up, but I thought it was important.
Well,
because it's obvious.
Let's continue with the story a little bit more. I think where Rex drops his helmet in this point. So I'm gonna keep doing this to you guys. So
Hitting us hard, man.
That's
Like,
right.
This is the part where we're all about to cry. So
This is all right. This is the biggest part. So Ahsoka walks up to Rex, says what's going on. He says he's gonna do it himself. Takes out the blaster. She's tearing up, and of course he drops the line "Fine fives," and then he yells it again one more time. And I caught it like the minute he said fives, like literally, I just like everything crumbled at once.
Based on your reaction video,
I
you're
just
like,
started.
Chad, I saw the face too, and I had to make a meme about it.
I was
like, I was getting so many messages this morning. Like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm not okay.
Like, Corey fell right into his
guilty. I was
sign.
one of those people. I totally sent you a message, and I was like, dude, like, I feel like obliged to like ask you if you're doing okay.
Like, it's just, you know, the significance of that moment. Because here's my kind of crazy analogy with it is, I think bringing up Fives also signifies the whole series in a way, because it's a character we follow since season 1, and it really ties back all the way back to Rookies, you know, that character. And it's like, that's the whole package, right? Is these characters from so long ago, and Dave has connected it in such a great way. And like I said earlier, it made me feel like Fives was guiding Rex and Ahsoka throughout this episode, even though he's gone. And
His influence.
It's so great, man, because his sacrifice is no longer in vain. That was the tragedy of the Order 66 arc and the Lost Missions, is that he died and no one believed him. Rex was only left suspicious. Anakin couldn't seem to care less. And it was just kind of lost on everybody. And now it wasn't all for nothing, because his discoveries and him trying to make everyone aware to the best of his ability, I mean, now resulted in saving Ahsoka's life and Rex. And that's cool, man, because that was one of the most tragic parts of the whole series, is that
100%.
Fives
It's
died.
the saddest death of the whole series for sure. That the track and everything they use for it.
He died, and it was for nothing.
Well, and you know, I like the idea, and no, I agree with you. That was the emptiness I always felt when he died. I'm like, damn, like he just did it, and no one believed him, and now he's just gone. And it was, so that's why that moment hit me so hard, because I'm like, oh damn, they did him justice. Like Fives got the justice he deserved.
Yeah, it cements his importance, you know. It brings his character now full circle to where he basically, like you said earlier, guided Rex and Ahsoka to safety. He's the reason that all of this is able to work and carry on, and for him to have that much of an important role.
Well, and also the way that it was done too, where the music kind of goes away and Rex is shaking and he's like, Fives, and he's saying it like that, and I literally could not have asked for a better scene. I couldn't, like, it was perfect. And then you get Anakin's betrayal. The score just lights up the entire thing, and like Kurto said earlier, you get Ahsoka on the table, deflecting bolts, confused. You know, still like, Rex, what's going on? And then Jesse walks in, and the clones
Can
are
we
shooting
talk
at her.
about how scary that moment was? Already now one of the most powerful moments in the whole series. But to me, what just was instantly apparent about it was just how scary it was. That Ahsoka Tano, who has been from the age of 14 to now 16 or 17, fighting an intergalactic war, surviving every encounter, fighting every measure of droid and every kind of an enemy you can imagine, but still, just like the other Jedi, the clones, they're the clones of the Jedi killer Jango Fett, they are able to quickly surround and overwhelm her just like any other Jedi. And there is something so terrifying about that, because you really, I think a lot of Ahsoka kind of feels invincible in a lot of ways. Not in the sense that, she can't die or she's overpowered, but just that she's able to get herself through every situation. And but then just seeing how quickly they're able to overwhelm and surround her too, it was just like, oh my God, it's just so real and just so
the power of numbers.
Revenge of the Sith.
I mean, this is why, like, even the death of I'm gonna die from season 3, like, it showed that no matter how good of a Jedi you are, if there's more than 6 units against you, like in that case, battle droids, you're done for. And
you were gonna die. Sorry.
Just had to bring it up because, and of course that and the way it was cut, because usually when we saw the Jedi die in Revenge of the Sith, it was either quick close-up shot, like or kind of close-up shot, and then a faraway shot. Like Ayla's death is through a mushroom fungus thing. Like we see her being gunned down, or Karimun is one quick shot from close, and then it's like a little
Right.
further. And
They're very
this is
quick,
like we
yeah.
see close-ups of clones, we see close-ups of like it's very close to what Revenge of the Sith does, but we don't get. It's very fast edited, which I really love, and it's almost edited to the pace of Anakin's dark deeds, and just really perfectly. Just it's so intense and so scary.
Yeah.
It's just, and I was really, thankfully, Jesse survived because I was
For
expecting.
now.
Till next week.
I actually wanted to
Wow.
talk
The
about
only
Jesse.
reason
because that's
Jesse's
one thing
alive
that
is because he's
Yeah.
not going to be by the end of next episode. Okay.
Oh
That's
no!
it. That's it.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm scared for next week. Is like, are we gonna have to watch Rex kill Jesse?
Oh
We've been
my!
saying that.
I
That's
think that's
in my
exactly what's
head,
gonna
and
happen.
that's
It's
been
only
freaking
fitting.
me out.
Yeah, it's only fitting that he does it.
Yeah.
Jesse, what do you think's going to happen to Jesse?
Yeah, I think
on the
Rex is
spot.
gonna have to do the heartbreaking thing and gun down his teammate there, like his friend.
I
It's
think-
just gonna be the hardest thing Rex has to do, I think.
Yeah.
Corey and I
no,
kind of
for
put
sure.
it out there earlier today. We were talking about this, but listen, it's like we thought Maul was gonna kill him in the Phantom Apprentice. Then we thought he was gonna die this week, and Order 66 is now happening, and he's still kicking. I think now there's a chance that maybe Dave left him alive, and maybe next week he does survive. Probably not. I think the odds
Yeah.
are absolutely not in his favor. But in the off chance that he does survive and Dave decided to leave him alive for whatever reason, probably not. It would be cool if there's a story, and this was kind of Corey's idea, that Rex eventually finds Jesse again, helps him remove his chip, and then maybe Gregor and Wolf don't link up with Rex right away. Maybe, Rex and Jesse, or whichever group of clones, they kind of go around and they're like a clone relief team trying to save and help as many clones as they can. And maybe Jesse is killed by the Empire at some point along the way. That would be
I would
idea.
love that series. I would die for a series like that. Oh my
Okay,
god.
it's
Maybe
probably not
he's-
going to happen, and it is fan fiction at its finest, basically what I
Yeah.
just said. But
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Maybe
Jesse's
I'm
going
going
to die
a bit
next week.
dark. But what if? I mean, okay, sorry, just I don't want to do this, especially with Jess here. It's like, but what if the next episode has Rex confront Jess, as we have discussed, Jesse confronts him, and they're at a standoff, like a Mexican standoff, and the thing is, Rex can talk to him, back to him, not like a superior, but like a friend, like a brother. What if? Okay, maybe it's too dark, but what if not Rex, not Maul, not Ahsoka, not Darth Sidious, no, not anybody else? What if Jess cannot take this and just overwhelms, the chip malfunctions, and he just blasts himself off?
Damn.
Well, I mean, he does have a target right on his forehead for that purpose.
God.
If you want to get dark,
No. Well, that would be
if you want to get
Y'all
dark,
are trying to kill me, my God.
I mean,
Jesus
okay,
Christ.
think about it. Like we have seen already top
Yo,
malfunctions.
Ross,
Ross.
you are darker than episodes.
I mean, the
okay?
lights. This
I
is the
didn't think
first
it was
episode. The
possible.
lights are off in here, man. So
Okay,
Get the
I'm to
fuck
blame.
out, Ross.
I was the trigger for Ross to say that thing, but I was.
you wanted to
I
go
was-
dark, Dan. We have arrived.
I mean, we
Importance of
have
clone trooper
like,
Jesse. Just joking.
No. I mean, we have to prepare for like if we prepare now as a friend, as a support group, prepare for the worst,
Yes.
for the worst option.
I don't
If
feel
Jesse
supported in
survives,
this
it will
moment.
be-
And
feel like I'm
Ross is
gonna
very
cry.
positively contributing to the support group.
Ooh, I'm clutching my pearls over here. Oh my God.
And if Jess
God.
survives, it will
Fails.
be more important than the
Support
celebration
group,
at the end
group
of
therapy.
Ross, that Ahsoka standee is about to come to life and
That's
just
right.
beat the shit out of you.
It absolutely is. And then, man, if I had Rex in here too, I'd be in real deep trouble. Yeah.
Look, I feel like a helpless youngling in the Jedi Council chamber, and you just showed up and decapitated me. I didn't deserve what I
Sorry.
got, but I got it.
That's right.
Master Ross, what are we going to do?
Yeah, sorry guys. I have initiated the dark times.
Yeah,
It's
if
all
that
my
happens,
fault.
I want to say
You're
something
welcome.
real quick because this is so important about Ross. He will. Okay,
Yeah.
here's what I've noticed with him. Okay, he will say things, and they always come true. I am not
No.
exaggerating.
Oh, God.
I am not lying.
Ross's dark deeds.
It's ridiculous. It's every single time. So I guess Jesse's gonna shoot himself with this right by the tattoo. So
Hey man,
here it is.
you can make some bank off being a psychic. So
Oh God.
Okay, the
God.
Clone Wars has not been shy from dark stuff, so.
He manifests his visions through the dark side of the Force.
Okay,
Jeez.
like I
It
said,
is the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities. Some
Abilities
consider
some
to be
consider to be unnatural.
unnatural. See, I'm like J.J. Abrams. I can plagiarize.
I'm a Jedi. That's not the Jedi way, Ross.
Well, listen, man. The Jedi never seem to figure it out. It's like, look at Luke, the guy
Yeah.
who should have been able to restart the Jedi Order, and even he couldn't do it.
Right.
Rise of
Damn.
Skywalker, supposed to leave you on a hopeful note that Rey could, for whatever reason, even though Luke couldn't.
okay, let's maybe go to a
Back to the
positive note.
Clone
Yeah,
Wars.
what's our next question? What's the next question?
I want
Okay.
to talk about R7.
Yes, I was about to bring up R7. Yes,
Okay, do my guess,
R7.
okay.
I'm so happy
Oh
to
my
see that droid. I
God.
think like
That was cool.
like, when I was like,
That was
I
touching.
never thought I was gonna see you again. and
Same,
then the droid
same.
gets all excited. I'm
Say.
like, the droid
Yeah.
probably that droid's
I
saying
know.
the same thing like Ahsoka. I thought I'd never see you
Right.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never thought.
R7 was one
I
of
know.
my very
Yeah,
sorry.
it was awesome.
R7
Yeah.
was one of my very first Clone Wars action figures that I ever had.
Damn.
So seeing R7 in one of the last episodes,
Man.
I mean that was one of the best fan service, if you can even call it that at that
Oh,
point.
yeah.
But for
It
me,
was good.
that really took me back
Yeah.
10 years.
Dude,
You
I
know,
got
I remember
Ahsoka's
this-
Jedi Starfighter, the Lego set, when I was like 9 and got my first R7 minifigure, and it was just it's such a seamless integration. Just having R7. Of course,
Yeah.
Rex would be hanging on to
Cool.
R7.
Yeah.
Right.
you know?
I mean,
I like that we had that C1 droid.
Yep,
It was
cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap.
Yeah,
Cheap.
I got a theory about that.
Yeah,
by
I
the
do
way,
too,
with-
actually,
yeah.
and I think
I
we're
do too.
thinking the same thing.
Yeah, Chad, you wrote me the exact
Yeah.
same thing.
It's
Yeah.
It's
Chopper.
R5D4.
It's
Oh,
Chopper.
God.
He's Chopper.
I
Dude,
don't
yeah.
think. Well, that was Chopper was in the Battle of Ryloth.
yeah.
Oh,
conflict
damn
with
it.
canon.
now it's ruined. There
Damn
it
it.
goes.
Okay, Blade Rebels.
One
It's
thing's
like-
for sure though, those droids droids get a bad rep in this galaxy. Those 3 freaking heroes deserve so much better
know,
because the
they're so
second she's
good.
like, it's dangerous. No. They're all like, shut up, we're gonna help you.
Let's
Right.
do
Of
this.
course we're gonna help you. We're gonna risk our droid
me-
lives to do
Yep.
that. But,
Let me tase this fool. Right?
God.
Man.
Shout out to like I think like all the droids that they had in there, like it was really great like choices. Like R7 of course was
Oh, yeah.
great to see. I like the C1 because it shows you that not all C1 droids are grumpy little bitches.
Psychopath.
And then there was that third droid, like that like dark blackish one with like the gold trim, and I was like, ooh, like Art Deco. She's chic, she's fab, she's new, she's shiny,
Yeah.
and I dig it.
Yeah, I love Gigi. Okay, well, I did see some people. I don't know if it's 100% that this was I think this was coincidental, but I saw a lot of people. I don't know if this will come out on the episode guides, but I saw somebody say that was a tribute to Gigi Bryant, and that's why, because today was her birthday. I don't know if that's coincidental or what.
That's one
That's
hell
what
of
they
a
do on Clone
coincidence
Wars.
if it is.
Right? Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's
Make those
very
connections.
specific.
Yeah. So I mean, damn, if that's what they did, they're just hitting all the feels constantly.
Yeah.
But okay, so R7 friggin' does her thing and boop 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 whatever, and then we see this
Boop,
you know,
boop, boop,
Ahsoka-
whatever.
That's right.
That was the
It seems like that is how
description.
brain surgery works in Star Wars. That's how it didn't work with Fives earlier. It's just boop, 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 whatever. And he's got the thing on his side. It's
Well, we're
out,
not there.
done.
Not we're not quite there yet. It's with
Yeah.
when Ahsoka says pull up information on. Okay, so when Rex initially said fives, because my mind went blank for like 10 seconds after that, I didn't realize he said find fives initially watching it. So when Ahsoka was like pull up all information on CT 5555, I'm like, oh shit, they're not stopping. And then like all the information comes up about Tup and Tiplar and
Nala
like
Say.
Yeah, and Nala, I hate Nala Se. And
Oh,
yeah,
she's an awesome villain. Come on.
No, Nala Se. No, she is an awesome villain for
No,
sure.
no, because she started off like every Camino, and she started, oh, we're at the Khalidin, and we're gonna be attacked by the Malevolence. Oh, we're so innocent. Oh, we're gonna save these little clones. I'm now gonna be the evil one.
Oh no, she's a great villain. She's a great villain, but I will never forget. And I love the scenes where Rex just pistol whips her, not
Yeah.
Rex 5s, like 3 times because
Yeah.
she's crazy.
Girl,
I
And,
was gonna
for it.
say, like, you know,
Yeah.
when we were starting our like therapy session talk, I was gonna be like, Corey, how's your relationship with Nala Se?
I hate Nala Se.
Do you hate? Who else do you hate?
Hey man,
it's
at least
just
the
Nala Se.
Kaminoans-
Fox.
The Kaminoans and the Geos,
Fox.
they got what was coming to them.
And Windu.
Yeah. God, these people.
All right, hey, I want to bitch out Windu for a second.
Yes,
here,
please
because
do.
I am a huge fan of Mace Windu, but dear God, Dave wrote him to just be, I mean, peak asshole. Just to really build off of Revenge of the Sith. I mean,
He was
like first of all, like
salty.
Ahsoka was I mean, has trained her whole life, and then to be like the excelling to be the best Jedi she can be. 14 years old, thrust into an intergalactic war, fights their war with their best general for like 2.5 years, sees like horrors and terrors that no 14-year-old should ever have to see, then gets accused and framed for a bombing she didn't commit, a crime she didn't commit. They don't give her the benefit of the doubt, literally about to let the Senate walk her in front of the firing squad after expelling her. And then she's like, just being a civilian, still helping them, delivering Maul on a silver platter. Maul, killed Qui-Gon. No one's been able to get him
silver
since.
platter inside of a Nokia.
He delivering Maul in a human envelope, and then this guy has the nerve to condescend her. It was like, bro,
He deserves to go out that window, and that
He
is a read
does.
drastically.
Well,
I
think,
yeah.
like this proves my point from the first episode of this arc, because of what Ahsoka did, and because she is no longer a Jedi, because she does point out that she is no longer a Jedi. Like Yoda has not as a Jedi. It's like, and Mace takes it personal. It's like,
Yeah.
and this is why, like, the best villains you can, like, okay, he's not a villain, but he's like, more or less, Mace has always been kind of an anti-hero in these movies.
Yeah.
And we love to hate him sometimes because he is, especially Samuel Jackson with his amazing performance. How can you not love to hate that? Now, but again, she went off on Obi-Wan, against Obi-Wan, and everything he said in the first episode. We see now if that was Mace Windu back then, there was not gonna be any Siege of Mandalore because he was like gonna say, "No, citizen, we're not gonna give you half of our battalion. Goodbye." Especially because he doesn't trust Anakin.
Goodbye.
He doesn't trust Anakin. He doesn't like her. Mace has a problem with everybody on the council except maybe Yoda. So
yeah,
And
he's
even
got stuff
then-
on his mind right now. Like he's very proud. Like you don't want to like, oh, you're not gonna come back. You're not gonna be part of the Jedi. Why do I care? Get out of
You
here.
want to bet Mace Windu kicked Eth Koth off the council just for fun?
Yeah.
Like that guy got kicked off the council for no reason, and then the Vader comics, he's like, "Listen, man, I'm just trying to be a priest. They kicked me out. I don't care." And Vader's like, "No, you're dead. Goodbye."
Why do you think Yaddle was gone?
Windu is secretly kicking people off the council all throughout the prequel era. That's what's been happening.
He's doing it because he's icy.
Mace Windu, seriously, like when you hear the phrase "the dogmatic view of the Jedi," just substitute his face for the words. Right there.
Well,
the poster child for like these are the rules. There's no shades of gray. It's this or get out. He's
but it was
that kind of
It was
dude.
usually Mundi, and now we have replaced Mundi as the #1 most disliked Jedi with this.
Oh, don't worry. There's enough room in my heart for hatred for Ki-Adi-Mundi as well.
Yeah, Ki-Adi-Mundi's #1 for me. I can't Ki-Adi-Mundi, especially in the Ahsoka arc. After that, I'm like, dude, you're #1. But Mace is up there. Mace is definitely up there. I think they're almost on par. I would say they're they're almost on par.
I think I hate Mace more. Ki-Adi-Mundi,
Okay.
like at least he's got a funny looking head. You know,
He's a literal dickhead. How can you?
it's a literal.
Oh,
But you know, I can laugh about that though, so that's funny. But
Claire,
Nate, I can't laugh.
Claire, I'm not brave enough for that. I'm sorry.
like the thing
I'm
is,
here.
like
I'm here
That
every
was
Jedi
awesome.
Council member has a flaw. Like except maybe Kit Fister and Depa Bilaba, every one of them, and Plo Koon. Plo Koon is perfection, by the way.
I don't know, man.
His
It
perfection.
looked like he
Master
got on
Plo.
something in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. I mean, that
I mean,
guy's got
Stacey
weird
Tim
looking
is-
pointy teeth in Revenge of the Sith now. He's got like red around the
Oh
eyes.
yeah,
Like,
he
something
He's been through
happened
some
to Kit
shit.
Fisto.
He's been getting into spice, you know. He's had some rough years.
I mean,
he bought some death stick.
it's so bad that
Word
it's like
gets to
he could
everybody.
barely survive and then just got cut down. I mean, the guy was not all there. He needed to get it in some water or something.
I'm gonna tell you, like, I've looked into like special effects. It's an industry I'm actually super interested in, and I'd say like I'd prefer the makeup in Revenge of the Sith. I can see why they changed it. There were some issues with the one in Attack of the Clones,
Yeah.
and it deserved to be changed.
Well, no
I think
alien
we're
Jedi
definitely
should
going
have
to
better
either
teeth than
see
me.
him briefly
You
or
know?
get a mention of him because he's also one of Dave's favorite characters.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
can see it happening.
And he's so important to Ahsoka's
Very- yeah.
early Jedi years
Yeah.
that it would
Yeah.
just be another emotional note that would just devastate me completely.
Yeah,
I mean, if they do show Plo Koon, like if we got one Order 66 shot because of how directly connected Plo is with Ahsoka, I think, and I tell Corey this all the time, like the best thing you could do if you're showing an animated version of his death on Cato Nemoidia is, just retcon in the Wolf Pack. They were on Cato Nemoidia, and then Wolf forwards he forwards Order 66 and Palpatine's message up to Captain Jag in the Arc 170s.
Yeah.
And so that would explain why Wolf is so guilty in Rebels.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I
Yeah.
want to see that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Wolf shoots right away at the jet. So something went down, and I think that needs to be seen. And I cannot imagine Dave not showing the Wolf Pack and Plo one last time.
Yeah.
I would be stunned if he didn't. That's like his babies.
Yes.
You know what's gonna happen? We're gonna get to the end, and exactly what we were talking about earlier. Ahsoka and Rex are just gonna ride off on some wolves, and we're not gonna know. We're gonna be like, why? Like, where'd the wolves come from? And it's just gonna be like, 'cause they're wolves.
They're wolves.
That's all you need to know. They're Force wolves.
Exactly.
So just like with Ventress, the wolf pack is going to be hunting them down. That's what's going to happen.
Let's
But it's gonna
talk
be
about
actual wolves.
Let's talk about how
Real
lucky
wolves.
that Rex is to be alive. And I say that because Rex submitted a recording of what he encountered with Fives. And I feel like if it wasn't for Anakin, Palpatine would have had this guy killed. But I think that would get way too personal with Anakin, and killing Rex would be a problem. But Rex submitted, a complaint. Report. So I think that's pretty huge in the scheme of things. That I'd never really realized that he would do something like that. Now, we all know that Kix, who is no longer present in this current arc, because in the books, Kix was kidnapped by the Separatists because he uncovered Order 66 because of Fives as well. And the way I look at it in my headcanon now is like Rex was also talking to Kix in that.
Yeah, and then because Kix is the medic, he had the means to go and then figure out the specifics of what Fives was going on about.
Yeah.
And so then Kix took it the rest of the way, and then Sidious got wind of Kix, and then everything happens to Kix. With the CIS dreadnought.
But Anakin doesn't care for kicks.
Well, Anakin does care for Rex, and so I think Corey and I were talking about this earlier today. Rex would have definitely gotten the Fives treatment if he wasn't Anakin's number one guy, because I think even Palpatine knows if suddenly the same thing happens to Rex out of nowhere when Rex is totally fine, there's no Ringo Vinda excuse to throw around this time. It would complicate things, and Anakin would become suspicious, and Palpatine, I mean, just one thread like that could undo and unravel the whole grand plan. And I think Palpatine knows that. And also in our head canon, something that we didn't really get in this episode that we definitely theorized, I think, last week and the weeks prior, is that maybe because of how close Maul came to uncovering Palpatine's plot, thanks to his super convenient spoiler vision, that's why Palpatine kicked Order 66 into gear right away. Maybe not like the leading reason, but it was certainly contributing. Like, oh yeah, and I also need to tie up that Maul loose end, which could become very serious as well. But we didn't quite get that. But also, if we're talking about headcanon, I like to think that that was part of the reason Order 66 was declared so expeditiously.
Right. So at this point in time, Ahsoka figures everything out and sets up a plan to get Rex, uses the droids. I thought that was very cool. But yeah, so let's talk about that Maul scene. There has never been a more epic scene with Maul than him just walking in that hallway, tearing down clones. I mean, that's stuff out of dreams. Like, I never thought. Yeah, I never thought we'd see Maul, of all people. Like, Dom, when we were at the Comic-Con panel, there's nothing that would have told me we'd see a scene where Maul is going through a hallway just mowing down clones.
No lightsaber, pulling pieces of the wall off. I mean,
it's wild. It's just incredible. Like, you guys have rightly compared it to the Darth Vader scene in Rogue One. It's just, I've loved this whole arc, seeing like the multiple sides of Maul. We've seen him be very cunning. We've seen him be afraid, which is not a look we've seen on him before. And now we're sort of seeing Maul unleashed, in a sense, where he doesn't even need the lightsaber. He's just walking down that hallway using the Force and taking off people's heads, using the sheet metal off the walls and crushing arms in the door. And when Ahsoka frees him and says, I need a distraction, go cause chaos, and he asks for a lightsaber and she doesn't give him one, you realize, oh yeah, he never even really needed it to begin with.
Nope, shrugs it off.
Yeah, in the end, he's just so powerful. He doesn't need it. And so I've loved seeing all the different versions of Maul. We've kind of gotten a bit of that wish fulfillment from Phantom Menace of like, oh wow, what if this character could just go on a rampage?
Right.
And we've kind of seen a couple of moments of that in the lightsaber duel and now in this, but we've also seen a real, a much deeper character over the previous episode in particular, where he was very afraid. And that moment at the end of last week's episode where he was just screaming, you fools, you've doomed us all, essentially. And
let me die.
Yeah. And
we're all gonna burn.
Yeah, I never imagined seeing that much emotion from Darth Maul. I always just sort of thought of him as a cunning warrior, but here he is with a whole other level, and it's something Clone Wars has done really well. And again, these episodes have just been peak Clone Wars because we're seeing everything that it's done well ratcheted up to 11.
This arc has made me love Maul so much that I am willing to get Maul's the tattoos all over.
Damn. All right.
Wow. You'll stand right out.
Star Wars Celebration Tattoo Pavilion.
God.
I want to be there for that. I want to.
Can you imagine walking around the convention center completely covered in like the saran wrap bandage? Like, I did it, guys.
I did a good thing. Yeah.
People would come up
bump
to you
into anybody. Ow.
That's the kind of like thing that you'd see in a TikTok, like, just did a bad thing. I regret the thing I did.
It's the kind of thing people would come up to and be like, oh, how long did it take you to do your makeup? And you'd be like, oh no, this isn't makeup. It took many hours once, but I don't ever have to take it off.
Oh,
and
damn.
There are times where I wish.
Nor can you take it off.
Oh my god.
Nah, girl, I woke up like this.
Hey, Eric, you've committed to it now, man.
Oh,
like,
God,
I know some artists who can do some Star Wars tattoos. So we.
Oh boy.
Dread.
I
Dread in Eric's voice.
I actually do plan on getting like a Falcon tattoo at the next.
No, you have to get them all. No, there's no Falcon. You are fully Maul.
Listen, we are going to expect a full body Maul. I mean, you have to do it now.
You got to find your Savage.
See, I shouldn't have
anything you say on this anything you say on this YouTube channel is legally binding. I just want you to be fully aware. You signed the waiver. It's gonna happen now.
Yeah, and we're not gonna bury it the way they were able to bury Nala Say's like smoking gun confession tape. They're like, yeah, somehow the Jedi Council, the Senate committees, nobody noticed this, but I'm just making this recording for somebody.
Exactly right. Jeez, I never thought we'd be using Nala Say as the comparison, as an analogy.
She's the legal standard in.
Yeah. Like Ahsoka's like, I'm gonna bring you to justice, and Maul's like, huh, okay. Now let's say
Right.
Yeah.
So
I regret saying
Rex, I bet. So we got Rex in the room getting ready to get brain surgery, and
The
Ahsoka.
fastest surgery, by the way.
It's very
I'm telling
fast.
Yeah.
Oh man, what were we saying earlier? Beep boop and done. It's just
Exactly.
Beep,
yeah,
boop, bop,
brain
whatever.
surgery.
Bippity
Not a
boppity
problem.
brain surgery.
That's
We're
right,
done
it's
here.
done.
FX droid did it with a pair of tongs.
That must have been extremely painful because I mean Rex was knocked out,
No.
but like
Here's what happens.
It's like flipping a steak on
they
the
don't have
grill.
they don't have the equipment for Gregor. And so when we get to Rebels, we know why. Gregor's just like, hey man, look at my eels. This is gonna be great. He's still got pieces of the chip in there. It wasn't an easy incision. Listen, man, Rex tried. Wolf's hands were shaking from the guilt. It didn't
oh
go
my
very
god.
well.
There's chunks of frontal lobe missing. Like this is no
Jeez.
bueno for anybody here.
It does make sense now. If it's just that medical droid that had, like Jesse said, that just
Get
has
the tongs.
Like, the tongs. I mean, he's done.
Craziness
God.
from the void, man. That's where it comes from.
And we also
yeah.
that's why if Jesse survives this episode, we'll also know why he's not in Rebels because
Oh my
it
god.
really didn't go well for Jesse.
And therein lies the difference between a 2-1B medical droid and the med pod from Prometheus.
Yes.
I've always wanted to see what a medical malpractice suit would look like in the Star Wars galaxy.
Oh Jesus. Damn. Wow. We're in for a
my.
very dark episode
like,
then.
I think if,
Well, we
if
were
there were
expecting
like any malpractice issues with like surgery, the doctor could always pull it just happened so fast. I
Yeah.
have no idea.
Oh man, what happened?
Oh man.
God.
Jeez. Well, hopefully the surgeries go well. We shall see. But Rex, yeah, he came right out of that after they were one with Chirrut Imwe. In that incredible, I never expected, by the way, to ever
That
hear
brought
that
me to
line
tears.
again.
It got me when
Yeah.
Rex started saying it back. That was
Yeah.
Oh,
special. Yeah.
dominant. Yeah.
That's my favorite moment from Rogue One. That used to be my Twitter bio. I just changed it like a month ago.
Well, change it back.
Change it
All
back
right,
now. It's,
I
it's
have
fresh
to.
now.
I have to
It's a
change
sign.
it back.
I used to say
so
that
to
every
hear
time I
that-
was taking a test. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be horrible. And it was horrible.
Yeah,
It's such
you
a-
always had
I
to
was not one with the
director come
force.
over and be like, you have to stop talking. You can't talk during the test. I don't care what you're saying.
You know how y'all were just like talking about like how Ahsoka just like survives all her encounters. That's kind of how I go into tests. I was like, you know what? I did okay on the last one. I'll do okay on this one.
There you go. There you go.
It
So
probably
It
won't
doesn't
take-
always work that way.
no, the minute that Rex raised his blasters, yeah, I was worried for a second. Okay, well, actually, let's just say this: if Rebels was not a thing, this whole episode would just be like that much
Yeah.
more intense. I mean,
Oh yes.
I
Dude,
I
like,
said
it
that
was-
to a friend of mine last night, and I just said, imagine watching this not knowing what happens in Rebels at all.
Honestly, I think it
It's
would
just-
be just as intense anyway. Like, for a second, like I just wasn't even thinking about Rebels. I thought Bo-Katan was dead in that elevator. I thought she got squashed.
It makes me want to show
hard
the
hit.
I was
episode.
like, oh, she's done.
It makes me
Oh.
want to show the episode to a friend who's never seen Rebels or knows what happens.
Oh no! Always start with
Yeah.
Star
Good
Wars.
idea.
Yeah, no, because that must be a unique experience. Of
I
not
have a
knowing.
good friend of mine. He's on season 3, and I keep egging him on to just continue watching it. So
Yes.
he has not seen a single thing of Rebels. He has no idea what happens. I cannot wait to hear
Nice.
someone like his reaction to
Yeah,
watching
no,
it.
100%.
Like,
The
I
Siege of
would have passed
Mandalore
out.
has
Yes.
just I mean won everyone over. Like I know a buddy in Belgium who grew up with a very to my understanding a very interesting experience with Star Wars, primarily geared with Knights of the Old Republic. Like his Star Wars was primarily those games, and he was never able to get into the Clone Wars afterward, and especially when they started doing the Mandalorians, and it was a little bit different from the expanded universe that he grew up with, and just could never get into the Clone Wars, never got past like season 2, but has been watching the Siege of Mandalore and is completely won over now after like 12 years. And it's cool, man. It's really cool. The Siege of Mandalore.
Better late than never.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but yeah, I mean, it's got to be a really interesting experience. Anyone who's becoming a Star Wars fan now is so lucky. It's like you really hope that person has a guide, so they're not watching Rebels before they see this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
In a sense,
had a
I'd love to show somebody who's just getting into Clone Wars. Like, I almost feel like if you want to get them into Clone Wars, you show them this. You show them the end and be like, this is how good it is. This is how good it gets.
Yeah.
There will be some rough patches early on, but this is where it goes.
Hey, man, I was 7 years old when I got my first Star Wars toy, which is a Burger King Han Solo Carbonite toy, because with the Revenge of the Sith release.
I actually think I have that still.
Dude, that's how I got it. That's how I got into Star Wars, is because of that toy.
I have a Revenge of the Sith shrine. Right.
Oh man,
I think this is the one from this is the one from the Clone Wars movie.
The Burger King toy.
Oh, dude, I had a lot of them. I still have my Vader from that line.
This is the McDonald's one from the Clone Wars movie in 2008.
But yeah, man, and then I was 7 years old. Oh God. Yep, that's part of the line, man. I've got my Vader outside, dude. I was so sad. The breathing Burger King Vader from the Revenge of the Sith wave. I finally pressed the button recently, and it stopped breathing after like 12 years.
Stop breathing.
I'm like,
Corey gets on. It's like, stop breathing. What's going on?
Well, I don't. Yeah, that's the first thing I heard.
Corey, to let you know what we're talking about. We're talking about Burger King.
We are, because okay. So where I was going with this was I was 7 years. Okay, so Dom was bringing up people getting into Star Wars, and so I was 7 years old when I got that Burger King toy, and then went to go see Revenge of the Sith for the first time. And the darkest, most brutal and horrifying and tragic installment of the whole saga won this 7-year-old over and changed his life forever. And so I think really Star Wars, I mean, you can enter anywhere and fall in love.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you. 100%. I mean, I hope you enjoyed
my TED Talk.
I hope you enjoyed your meal that day, buddy. That's great.
Well, it wasn't that day.
Okay. All right. Prior. So
get your canon timeline straight, Corey.
He didn't even eat the food. He just bought the toy.
Okay, that's legit. Final thoughts on the episode, guys, and favorite moments. I'm gonna go ahead and just start real quick. Obviously, you guys already know Rex mentioning Fives in that moment, and it's emotional. It was brutal. It was everything I could have asked for in this episode. The power of Dave, indeed. I think Dave has done something enormously great here, and I am just floored by how incredible this episode was. 10 out of 10, as the last two have been as well. These are perfect.
5 out of 10.
Yes. Thank you, sir. So Ross, favorite moment?
Oh God, you just sprung that on me.
Yeah, I did.
Probably right when Ahsoka's on the holotable and Order 66 is really happening. Like for real. That was it for me in this episode. But the whole thing. I mean,
Eric?
all of Siege of Mandalore.
I would have to go with her conversation with Rex before everything starts about being keepers of the peace. That really spoke to me, and I think it really spoke to Ahsoka's character. And as a massive fan of Ahsoka, I thought that just did her so much justice. And after, we've seen her so badass in the past couple episodes, and with the lightsaber fight, it's so action packed. It was just a really intimate moment with her and Rex, and as you mentioned before, the salute that her and Dee even recreated that we didn't even have an idea about until last night. So yeah, I would say that was my favorite. It was a little moment, but definitely my favorite.
Nice. Dom?
My favorite moment was the one we were just talking about, the I'm on with the Force is with me moment. I loved hearing those lines from Ahsoka. I love that Rex kind of joined in. I really like the idea that even people who aren't Jedi and Sith, they still have the Force within them, even if they don't know how to use it or aren't able to use it the way Jedi and Sith do. And so I like to think that there was a little bit of Force action going on within Rex, or so that they were able to find the chip. So I love that moment. And I love the moment right after where Rex sits up and he's okay. And it's like, oh, you get that wave of relief of like, okay, at least Captain Rex is okay, even though we knew where it was going because we've seen Rebels, but I still had that relief in the moment because that's how good this episode was. And earlier today, I gave the episode a 66 out of 10. So I'm going to stick with that.
Ooh, perfect. That's perfect. Fred.
It is really hard for me to pick one, but it has to be Fine Fives.
Yes.
It's playing with my emotions still. You know, it hits hard. It was so beautiful too, like the little details with him crying and the eyes dilating, and the fear in his eyes as he's doing these actions too. And I'm sad.
Oh man,
I'm sad, guys. But yeah, it has to be 5 5s.
100%. Elias?
Oh man, I'd probably say when like Maul escaped the Nokia and started tearing it up. I love that. Again, I loved like the find fives that killed me when Ahsoka was on the holo table and like you could just like see the horror that she was feeling. You know, she was overwhelmed. I don't think she knew what the hell was happening, as none of the Jedi did. And like, you know, I loved what Maul said. He said something like you can't feel like the pain and the death, all these voices crying out. And I was like, oh man, oh, he's going there. He's going there. And now I'm feeling it.
Claire?
My favorite moment, as I said, I'm a glutton for punishment. So the moment, the moment where you see Fives physically fighting with the orders to kill this person he considers so dear. And I think I sound like a broken record. His shaking hands, holding the guns, his dropping his helmet, and finding those willpower to take that time and you know, and say that he can do it. It buys her the millisecond of time that she needs to react, no matter how heartbreaking it is for both of them. Like just that whole moment was just overwhelmingly emotional, and it's what it's all about, making me cry.
It is. And they're I agree that, you know, one thing that you mentioned a couple weeks ago is I think one of the greatest things about storytelling is when there are moments like that, right? You have to have moments of darkness because it's how the story feels like it has stakes. It feels like there are actual things that could go wrong. And I think that this episode is like the shining example of that, without a doubt. But Chad, what was your favorite moment?
It has become the Darth Maul monologue, you know, because like I said earlier, he became us. He just wants to know what the end game was, not to use another line from another movie. You know, once he finally figured it out, you know, he was like mind blown in his own way. He was like, that's how he's gonna do it. I love it, you know, and he's just digging it, you know. And and also like Dominic said, you know, just the moment with the force is with me. I'm one with the force. That was so touching. That made me tear up, and I didn't even get it the first time that I watched it. And then the 10 other times that I watched it, I finally got it. I was just like, this hits me every time. But
I don't know how you put yourself through that much pain, man. Watching that 10 times in one day.
I know. And
I could barely get past the first viewing.
But it was just, you know, it was the Maul. It was Maul figuring out what he wants to do next, because he finished that story. It was kind of like a good book, you know, he's reading a good book. He had to put it down for some reason. And then he comes back and he's like, oh man, why did I wait so long to finish this book? It was so good, you know, and he closes it up and he goes, I'm going to just go kick some royal ass, you know, because like he said last week or something like that, he is like, I can figure out how to live on my own or something like that. I can take the power that I need. So it's become Maul for me, really. And this was breakout for me because I couldn't believe when they brought back Maul, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was George's idea from the beginning, because it was that simple fact that he was like, oh, you know, everybody said that he was so cool, and I killed him off really quick, you know. That's why I brought him back. It was that simple thing that brought him back. But you know, you see this progression with all the characters, and with the Maul, it was incredible. So
100%.
I was happy to see him do that and figure it out, you know.
Oh yeah, the character development on Maul is amazing.
I mean, like last week wasn't already bad enough with just how, I mean, the crazy places they took his character with the anxiety and panic, to then just immediately contrasted with complete, I mean, he's totally calm. And now that he knows what's going on and how it's happening, he can relax and ease into it. That uncertainty is gone, and he's prepared.
That's good.
I don't know, like how he could stay so calm, like locked up in that box. I would be like.
Oh, I think he was freaking out inside. He just
once
had
he
to
got out
kind
of the box.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I would have
yeah, he let it all out.
My favorite unboxing video on
Oh,
the internet now.
man.
Do it. I'm sorry.
Perfect. Somebody else unboxed him. A Star Wars figure unboxed him.
Oh,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Great.
Oh man.
It would be a crime if any toy company, because Hasbro's not doing it, would do a like actual mall package like that, and he's just in there.
Yes.
I mean, come
Money
on.
in the bank,
It would
man.
be perfect, but we'll never get that with Hasbro.
Oh no, Hasbro, yeah.
We're still getting fucking stormtroopers and shit. Like we've
And
got
new
17
Skywalker.
of them, you know?
Hey, we
Like,
got Blue
Hey.
Vader. We got
Got
Blue Vader.
That's right,
Ooh.
announcing
Hey.
Jay.
I got Blue
Blue
Vader up there.
spray
I got the other
paint.
Vader and the other Vader.
Blue
Vader,
spray paint inspired by Ralph McQuarrie.
I have to say,
Harmonized.
At least it's a good backstory.
Yeah.
It's a stretch, but you
Yeah.
you explained it.
I think Hasbro. I mean, they're gonna like have to invent a new form of like being sued just for for like brand embarrassment. I mean, Lucasfilm is
I
gonna
have
have
to
to
say,
Lucasfilm's gonna have to
As-
do
as-
something about this.
as shitty as all the reveals today were, I do appreciate finally being able to own Han Solo and Carbonite for the Black Series. That's
Oh,
not the
man.
San Diego exclusive.
Oh man,
Yeah.
a whole
10
new
out of 10.
Okay,
plastic.
hold on.
In
You know me. I'm
in
a
a
sucker for
vintage
Han
card.
Solo.
It's a square piece of plastic, but it's in a 6-inch scale vintage card.
But they
I
knocked
mean-
down the price. They
Exclusive.
knocked down the price $5.
And
Right.
it's exclusive. Now you have to
exclusive?
buy the $45 Luke with Yoda. Because the Yoda and the fact that he can do a handstand means it's worth an extra $25. Did you want Clone Wars figures? Did you want Rise of Skywalker figures? Any additional figures for arguably the biggest Star Wars movie of all time? Did you
Yeah.
want life to make sense? Too bad.
I love the Clone Wars reveal, the figure that they're like, all right, guys, we got a Clone Wars figure to. By the way, I'm sorry, we have to just mention this real quick. Me and Ross watched the whole Hasbro live panel. Jesus
Dolan
Christ.
Corey made me sit through
I
this while
did.
painting
I
today,
did.
and I lost brain cells.
Oh my God, it was bad. And the funniest part about it, man, they're like Clone Wars figure. And then I'm like, okay, here we go. And then on the screen, Camino Clone Trooper.
Yep.
I'm just thinking like, what? This
Anything
guy
they
was
can repaint.
Listen, man, I gotta tell you, if you go on Hasbro's Facebook page, check out the stream. The guy on there, I think his name was like Patrick, is like the perfect corporate guy. I mean, he laughs like, ha, ha, ha. Just, I mean, wow, doesn't this look so great? Wow, look at this brand new figure. Oh, wow, another repack. Oh, you had a question about Clone Wars figures. Here's a vague and indirect question. Ask again in 2 years. It's like, where do they find these people? Like, what, is that a
They
program
come
now?
with the spray paint, I think.
Can you go to college? Like, yeah, he's carbonized. Can you go to college for just like being a corporate like figurine? Like, is that a program that's a thing now?
The greatest segment that they had on there, I guess this is going to be talking about this live stream. It has to be mentioned. The greatest thing of that whole stream was the doorbell gig that they had, the doorbell ring, where they would. It was Patrick.
No, the best part was because they were live streaming from home and they had their screens and the stream right in front of them. They had to see the comments. There was no, they weren't on a stage away from people and they couldn't see anyone. No, it was right there. And you were just seeing their eyes going, running across and then just being like, what in between conversations. It was, listen, man, I don't know how we got on the Hasbro rant again, but
No,
it's just hilarious.
It's hilarious because it just shows that the Clone Wars brings the best out of people and Hasbro brings out the dark side. Because like Hasbro, like corporate synergy, what is that? What is that? I was in an argument about this earlier, yesterday, because look, the sun has risen up. It's morning. Good morning. But like, what? Like, I don't know. It's mind blowing. Like, if like, I'm lost for words.
You don't want another stormtrooper or another
Oh,
Luke
When I saw that today, I
Dude,
flipped
is
out.
Hasbro going broke?
Yeah, dude, I was like another one.
Is Hasbro gonna shut down like this year? Like, are they okay?
No,
No, I
the
just think
greatest.
that
I thought of Dan Grievous right away the minute that they showed the Luke in Stormtrooper armor, because we just last Friday talked about how you're like, you know what? Because me and Dan, I'm like, dude, you know, next Friday they're gonna reveal stuff. Maybe Clone Wars. You're like, no, Corey. You're like, it's going to be another Luke, and you were right. I didn't think it was possible
You spoke
to
it
go
into
to that
existence.
level.
I got a
I
comment on
was
my
really
YouTube video a
hoping-
week ago saying, "Oh, I wish this figure had come out single packaged." And I'm like,
No.
"Don't worry, Hasbro's got this thing coming." 5 days later,
It isn't just one Luke; it's like 3 Lukes.
Yeah. See, it's
Oh my
it's-
God.
I sometimes when I talk to people online who say like, yeah, it's like original trilogy. That's what powers the fandom. It's like, yeah, but like,
all of
it's
Star Wars
mind-blowing.
powers the fandom. Where have you been?
No,
that
and
was
that's the
over
thing.
40s.
Yeah, like Patrick. I mean, the brand manager like just completely made a massive dig at the prequels. Like,
Oh
he
yeah,
was like,
it was. I mean, he was like, "Oh boy, Eric, yeah." When I first joined Hasbro, because at first he tried to say like the prequels were his favorite trilogy,
Yeah.
when clearly they're not, and it was just to contrast with the other guy who said the original trilogy was his favorite. Some form of like Facebook Live Hasbro pandering. It's hilarious. And this guy, like, when I first joined Hasbro and I said how much I love the prequels, maybe that wasn't the smartest move. And I'm like, what?
yeah,
year,
like,
what year do you think?
Read the room, Hasbro.
exactly.
You realize who's watching your live stream, right?
Listen, man. The one thing that is so undeniable, even to I think original trilogy purists, it's like the fact remains, this is the first unprecedented example of major Star Wars releases going on. Never before has this ever happened. And there's barely anything, just trickles of repacks and nothing even for the biggest new Star Wars movie. This has never happened. Something is wrong. There has always been a major release and multiple ways for every big Star Wars film and movie and show and game. Something is wrong.
Well, not just that, and I think Claire, you'll agree with this, is like out of all the characters, how are they not going to do a Gar Saxon? Like that armor. Yeah, that armor.
So handsome. What's wrong with you?
Well, Gar Saxon is the perfect example of this. Like, I know, like because some people say, well, because Darth Vader is the franchise, he's recognizable,
especially when he's
know.
blue.
Especially when he's blue. But like, okay, I don't want to get negative, but
we're already
Mandalorian
there.
sell.
We've been there.
That ship has sailed.
Like Mandalorian sell, like you would have so much cash if you sell Mandalorians from the Siege of Mandalore arc. It's like, but again, like Ross said, something is happening that we don't know about Hasbro, because they say, oh, it's because financial, they don't know what to do or something.
And it's like,
everybody has some explanation, but it doesn't make sense, because why then like Mattel or Playmates create all these like Ninja Turtle characters that have not been seen in decades?
Yeah.
I mean, and with the clone
Mattel
example
does
from
have
the
some
Black
kind
Series.
of part of the Star Wars license because of the new Baby Yoda. So maybe
I'm gonna go bring that real quick because you guys need to see this. Hold on.
But I will say, the real reason that we all know why Gar Saxon has not been made into a figure yet is because he has the Oscar Isaac Poe Dameron problem of being too handsome that you cannot replicate his likeness in plastic. It would just look like a foot.
You're also just the glutton for punishment, and they know, so they're not making Gar Saxon for you.
That's probably true as well.
It's
Let's be
specifically
real.
for you.
They're listening to this. They know.
I can tell you why Hasbro is the way it is, but we need another 3 hours. I've been doing this since.
You don't need Hasbro.
Yeah.
When
Since
Look at that
Mattel.
child. Look at that child.
Oh shit, his head.
Decapitating Baby Yoda.
Hey,
God, full Darth Vader's Baby
there a
Yoda.
second ago. Where'd it
Hey,
go?
Corey, you know what you should do? Show them the feet.
Nope. Oh, the feet. Oh,
There's no feet.
okay. Okay, I will do that. Hold on. Let me. There we go. Okay.
See ya.
Well,
There's no
first
feet.
and foremost, look at this little guy. Look at him.
That's the best thing.
They
Great.
nailed
Make
it.
that your new screensaver.
Honestly, yeah.
So cute.
But yeah, he does have
No
no feet.
feet.
No, no.
The Disney one, man.
This
My-
this
my wife loves
podcast,
it.
man.
It's
it. The
We've
Disney
just
one is
like
awesome.
What if you just unveil the cloak and it's a bean?
It kind of is, honestly.
They don't
like,
have the
it's-
kind of budget for feet.
Yeah,
They don't have feet
no.
money.
No
No,
feet.
no.
But like Mattel knows what's up. Look at this guy, dude. This guy's so
Aw.
cute. I just gotta say. Anyways,
Yeah.
just
I actually
continue.
tried to order him a couple days ago, and I couldn't buy it. It was sold out.
Yeah, he is my child. Like,
Oh,
once
when
got
I
him-
when I ordered my Baby Yoda merch from Target, this happened to both Corey and I. They just shot back after a month. And they were like, canceled. Sorry.
yeah,
And then,
Yeah.
oh man. And then thankfully, Ashley Eckstein's company, Her Universe, got some of the Funko Baby Yodas in out of nowhere. Managed to get one through there, but it was like, wow, everything's sold out now. I'm never
Yeah.
pre-ordering from Target again.
Look-
Yeah,
look
I
at
haven't
his
been
hand.
able to get anything Baby Yoda except for a poster. I got him. He's like stargazing or whatever. I got
Hey,
that.
man.
from
You
Target.
need
But
your
that's
fix,
it.
Advanced Graphics, that makes these standees. They've got a 4-pack for like $40 of like Baby Yoda cardboard cutouts. You can get them in your room, and Baby Yoda, put them in all different parts of your house.
Yeah, I'm about to buy like 3,000 of those. And just put in my
Oh,
house.
I'm sure the dog would love that.
I'll be
I'll be
honest.
divorced.
I got this straight off eBay. I paid way more than I should have, but I needed this in my life. So first and foremost, look at this. He's got the Force hand.
Hey, you
Like-
can do the magic hand thing, baby.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
Look at
Can it
that.
stand up? It has
He
no.
can. He can. He can in fact. Okay.
It's just like a
um,
beanbag, huh?
Yeah, no, he can. Yeah, you can. You just got to position
Stand
him
with
right.
no feet.
He
Yeah.
can.
The Disney one. We love the Disney one.
So
It's
on
your
that
fault.
note, oh yeah. On that note, Jesse, what was your favorite part of the episode?
Wow, that was a slight little detour, wasn't it?
What a transition.
So there was one little moment that I really loved, and it was when Darth Maul was in his box thing, and you actually see his breath like blowing on the window, like as he's exhaling. Like that was really
Yeah.
good. That was just
I
a great
love that part.
visual touch.
Yeah.
Always FPS.
But I think my favorite moment is the interaction when Ahsoka is freeing Maul from that room, from the prison, getting him to cause chaos. I just love the interaction between Ahsoka and Maul throughout this whole arc. And it adds more credence to their relationship when they meet up again in Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that interaction between the two of them.
Oh, 100%.
Don't you love how like when it's like what 15 years pass, and then after all of this, you get to Rebels, they give him a hug, and Rex is just like, "I'm glad you're still alive."
that's the first reaction. Oh man, Dan Grievous, what was your favorite thing about this episode?
Oh, so many things to think about that were just incredible about this episode, but I'm gonna echo what everybody else is saying. Is the moment when execute Order 66 happens. Like when Order 66 happens, just we've been waiting for this for so long, and we finally have this moment. It just from the moment we see Sidis's disgusting face saying "Execute Order 66" to the moment with all the clones shooting at Ahsoka, and Rex crying. I mean, this is emotional animation, musical perfection. Just I couldn't have asked for a better scene and execution of this sequence, which we knew was coming. Like I've been dreaming about this exact moment ever since the Brainworms episodes from season 2, because those clones were menacing.
Yeah.
That attacked Barriss and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That was the Shining episode. I called it. All the time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Felt like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now we got it in full, and it's just more than I ever could have imagined, and we're getting it, and I'm so happy we have this in our lives.
Oh yeah.
I think if we got Order 66 in full, it probably would include right after Vader is declared Vader by Palpatine.
Yeah.
If you got Palpatine doing what we all knew he had to do to personalize each of those messages, and he's just standing there, Commander Cody, execute Order 66. Commander Rex, execute Order 66.
For hours.
Commander Gray, execute Order 66. Kill that Caleb kid. And he's just doing this for an hour And then he comes back after the temple raid, and he's like, "You're still here?" And Palpatine's just so done with his grand design. And
It's like when it's a
Plagueis-
holiday and you just text every single person in your contacts.
Right.
Merry Christmas. It's like that.
Man, the grand design was not supposed to culminate.
He had
in
to
this.
call up everybody on
Just
his
like
contacts
Palpatine,
list.
the telemarketer, just won't lay off.
He's got a good long
Listen.
distance plan.
He's like,
Right.
I gotta personalize a bunch of these to make sure that they know how special they are, so they get them.
Man. Well, guys, that concludes our show for tonight. It's emotional thinking about it, but the next roundtable we're all going to do is going to be on the series finale of this show that means so much to all of us here. And I am so glad to share all this with you guys tonight and hopefully on Monday night as well for the finale. First and foremost, before we get social medias and everything, me and Ross did a really great interview with Ashley Eckstein a couple days ago.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. It was a blast to do. She's just a sweetheart. And, she's one of the first people I met in the Star Wars community. So it was great to get to catch up with her and talk about Ahsoka and mental health and just a bunch of cool stuff. So
Break the stigma.
yes, 100%. So check it out. It was really something special. And we want to thank Ashley.
It was so unexpected too. It just never. It was just such a great opportunity. I mean, to have the Clone Wars ending and then actually having the opportunity to chat with her for a bit before it actually happened. Just it was really cool. Super thankful that she came on, man. That was so awesome.
Oh yeah, did a really good job with that too. Like that was
thank you.
Really good.
Appreciate
Thank
it,
you. We wanted to get as as personal as possible with certain things and talk about it and make sure to like Elias said, break the stigma. All of us here in some form have talked about things together, and I think that that's very important to all stick together when times are tough. And it was really awesome that Ashley was willing to do that and talk with us, and that's awesome. So not just that, but this is something I announced on Twitter and Facebook and everything for our podcast is we all kind of came together, some of my fellow co-hosts from the Wolfpack days and First Order Transmissions and now here. And we think that the perfect way to bookend our journey with the podcast is with the Clone Wars ending. And that's something that I am in total agreement with. It's not for any other reason other than we just think this is the point where we're going to wind down the podcast. This is the third time I've said this in the 8 years we've done this. So I'm going to assume that's not going to be the case forever. In all honesty, like after receiving so many messages from you guys and different people in the community, I'm rethinking the strategy a little bit. And I think what we're going to end up doing is bookend the podcast and just do content when we feel like it rather than sort of feeling a commitment to it. For me, Clone Wars is peak Star Wars. And I always want to cover stuff that I love or that we all love and do it together. And so I'll probably do that for Mandalorian season 2. But for now, it is a little bookend to our 7-8 year journey doing this. So I want to thank all of you for coming on the show throughout the years or just recently. I mean, this community really has brought us all together in such a great and unique way. And it's something that I'm always going to be so appreciative of. And we'll talk more about that next week because, we'll go into that more. But it's just been a blast getting to know each and every one of you here. So
thank you, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah,
Thank you.
buddy, absolutely. It is. So with that being said, where can everyone follow you, Ross?
Oh God. You can catch me at Michael MGF. That's my main YouTube channel. And then everywhere else at MGF Customs. Got a pretty kick-ass set of Siege of Mandalore, custom Lego minifigures coming out and posting all kinds of really cool edits of them. And it's going to be great.
All right. Eric Patrick Cameron.
Yes, you guys can find me at Instagram at Eric Cameron Films, and then Twitter. And Twitter dropped the S. Letterbox is the same as the Instagram. And I just want to say to Corey, the Wolfpack podcast back in 2013, man, like that welcomed me into the community, and you're one of my best friends in the Star Wars community. I just want to wish you the best. I'm just really happy because I've had a home at this podcast for a long time. So it's
damn,
very
you're hitting me in the
bittersweet.
feels, Eric.
I'm sorry. I couldn't wait until Monday. I'm sorry. But like, I'm being serious.
Thank you.
And Star Wars weekends and celebration are some of the memories I hold dearest.
Yeah,
So,
for those of you who don't know, you guys listening, everyone watching the podcast right now, Eric was one of the first people who subscribed to the channel and was commenting all the time. And like, we're only like 2 or 3 years apart, but I feel like I've watched you grow up too, like through the channel and everything. It's weird.
It is.
And,
it is.
And so I'm very protective of Eric.
Thank you.
Me and Ross.
With Corey.
The last time I saw this kid in 2017, he was, shorter, and apparently now he's like as tall as Corey and I, and I'm not prepared for that. Like at the next celebration, I'm just not ready for that at all. No,
it's gonna be a very big group hug. I will say that. I miss you
absolutely.
guys so fucking much.
Oh yeah, same. Dom, where can everybody follow you, buddy?
You can find me on the Star Wars Underworld podcasts and the various spin-offs of that, like the Clone Wars Strikes Back.
That's a great name.
Yeah, thank you. And you can follow me on social media at DominicJ25 on Twitter and Instagram. And let me just say, Corey, it's been a real pleasure to be on. It's been a real pleasure to get to know you through the podcasts and beyond. And I just want to congratulate you on everything you've achieved and all of you guys have achieved here over the years, because it is a real achievement to do something like this for as long and consistently as you have, and to have built something really special. And so I'm sad to see it end or slow down or whatever it is that you're doing here. But it is definitely something that you all should be very, very proud of. And it's been a pleasure to be an immensely small part, coming on like 2 or 3 times, but it's been a real pleasure to see it and be part of it in a real small way.
Well, thank you so much, Dom. I mean, I have to say, we met each other and like right off the bat just clicked at San Diego Comic-Con 2018. Yeah. And we just like the whole time we're palling around and going to the panels and doing this and seeing the Clone Wars and I said likewise to you. Oh, Baby Yoda, I'm sorry, hit him in the head. So
that weekend is some of the hardest I've ever laughed, because we were having such a good time.
It's a massive highlight, and dude, we have to do it again, 100%. When they reveal the Clone Wars is coming back again, Clone Wars resaved. So
for the 20th anniversary,
to Filoni and Disney's ears.
Exactly.
Corey, I'll tell you, when we go to the 20th anniversary panel at Comic-Con, I will be fully believing you when you say the show is coming back. I didn't believe you last time, and boy, was I wrong.
It was so funny because a couple days beforehand, we were having this debate, and I decided to just be the odd man out. I was like, it's coming back. You guys are like, nope, it's not. I'm like, no, they're going to announce the series is coming back. And then when they did, you guys asked me right after, like, are you okay? I'm like, no. Like, holy shit. It was great. But Elias, where can everybody follow you, buddy?
Oh, you can find me at customsforthekid.blogspot.com, and then we have a bunch of social medias on our sidebar. We have YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We've been actually really active on Instagram lately, and you can find us there at customs_for_the_kid. I think you get the gist, just underscores for spaces. And that's our Instagram. Check out our blog. We try to post frequently. We have a few things we're working on. So yeah, keep up with that.
Awesome. And Fred.
So Wampa Food with 3 O's. We have Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch as well. Wow, it's been a journey. So before I sign off here, thank you for allowing me to come on. It's been really fun talking with all of you. And also, I'm a little bit older than you are, Corey, but I remember, I want to say it was either late 2015 or early 2016 when I started finding people within the community and stuff. So I feel like I actually have watched you grow up over this time, and it's truly been like a joy watching you, especially when the Clone Wars was announced to come back. Like
that was a moment.
that whole thing, and like even like Steel messing with you about it, like all of that was awesome. So
love Steel.
It's been great. But yeah, this whole journey that all of us have been on throughout the years since really Disney decided to buy it and, put out all this content. It's really been a dream come true. If you would have told 4-year-old me coming out of the theater watching The Phantom Menace that, hey, in 2020, you're going to be stuck inside and watching a show that's not even out yet, that's going to make Darth Maul one of the best characters ever. I would have been like, yeah, okay, sure.
Right.
But
yeah,
yeah.
Okay, sure. Ezra, time traveler.
But yeah, it's been a real dream. It's been a pleasure. And yeah.
Well, dude, I mean, you've been so supportive, and everyone here has been so supportive, whether it be in my personal life or in the community or whatnot. It is, I mean, God, like let me save that for the end here. But Jesse, buddy, where can everybody follow you?
On Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Forces with Jesse. Yeah, pretty much the same everywhere else. Yeah, just want to say it's been awesome watching you do what you do over the years, Corey. I know we've been sort of YouTube acquaintances for
a long time.
A long time. And
Yeah.
to be able to hang out with you in Orlando in 2017 and Chicago last year was
Blast.
a highlight. And both me and my wife consider you friends. So we can't wait to get back over to the States and do it again whenever it's gonna happen.
I can't wait till we go ghost hunting again, because we did. I mean, me and Jesse, there was that. Do you remember that sound, that screech? And
yeah, I think it was wind coming through a window, and then
it was.
And then we found out we were in the wrong tower.
Exactly. The whole entire time we were at this haunted hotel at Celebration Chicago, we're thinking okay, this might be haunted, and then
might be the power of Dave.
It might be. And then the very last day there, I forget who said it to us. They're like, you guys know you're not in the right tower, right? This is on the haunted one, and we're like, well, we're pretty sure it is now. Because, but Chad, where can everybody follow you, dude?
You can find me on Facebook at PeakOB1 Custom Creations, also on Instagram at PeakOB1 Custom Figures, where I make what Hasbro does not. It's been awesome with you.
Looking at you, kid.
Yeah, right. On all these different things that you've invited me to. It's really great. So it's great connecting with Clone Wars people. I'm always going to shows, conventions. Last year at Celebration Chicago, it was a pleasure meeting you. And I'm always looking for my Clone Wars peeps,
Honestly, Clone Wars fans and Clone Wars friends are always the funnest. And I think that we have such an interesting connection to the series that a lot of other people don't necessarily. Right. It's just another show to them. But for all of us here, it hit us on an emotional level, and we all had some sort of growing up as we watched it, So it's yeah.
I feel like Clone Wars fans are the most positive in the community too.
Yeah.
That's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
There's so much negativity on every end of the spectrum, but Clone Wars, it's right in the middle.
Yeah.
And it's just so positive, and I love it. So.
I agree. Claire, where can everybody follow you?
Well, let's see. You can follow me on both Twitter and Instagram at cstribs, STRIBS. And you can find me on the Imperial Senate podcast. Luckily, I am not the only person derailing the podcast. We all kind of do that on our own. And we actually have a live show tomorrow. I'm either 2 or 3 p.m. Central. We're going to be on YouTube and Twitch. You can find us there, basically just making complete asses of ourselves. But that's kind of our thing. So
I love watching you guys stream.
We just don't take anything seriously, especially ourselves. This is Magic Space Wizards. Let's just have fun with it.
Exactly right.
So if you want to come in and come up with goofy porn parodies for Star Wars characters, drop them in the comments. It's gonna be wild. I think we had awkward questions about which separatists were generous lovers not too long ago. So it's wild. It's really quite a
that is a question for Mr. Dan Grievous with the separatists.
He perked right up.
Gar Saxton, the armor stays on, okay, buddy?
but man, it's just Wat Tambor comes off.
Come on.
Or Admiral
He's got
Trench.
the dial ready to go.
Admiral just turn into?
How much? Oh yeah. There's
what have I done?
So much.
What have I done?
Mr. Dan Grievous. Where can everybody follow you, buddy?
Yeah, I want to first apologize for moving around so much during all your heartfelt like like comments and everything about the podcast, especially because the things you have said and the way you've been a part of this community. Just like I wanted to apologize that I've been moving around so much because
No,
the
you're
sun
good, man.
keeps moving.
You're good.
You're good,
I'm
dude.
trying to allow
Move around
myself
all you
because
want. It
I-
is fine.
I don't think any of us noticed.
I didn't.
Like,
Yeah.
flying off the bat, I just went and like dived for it.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just say that thank you for having me be part of these last few like roundtables dedicated to the best thing in Star Wars. Period. Just nothing, nothing, not even the original trilogy comes close to the greatness of the Clone Wars. And I just wanted to thank you for just having me on this and talking to you and talking to all of you, Claire and Eric and everybody and Ross, and I couldn't be more thankful to be part of this community and talk to you guys about this awesomeness because and I'm so sorry that it's like I don't want to get like too teary-eyed or something like about this, but like
oh man,
very famous movie last year said, part of the journey is the end. And
yeah,
it's like sorry, just I know it's cliched, but or maybe it's the early morning of
Dan, don't make me cry again. I've cried too many times during
I'm
Endgame.
dude. I'm struggling right now. Please, no one mention fives, please. Don't let's. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not gonna mention him.
No,
I
I'm
never got
kidding.
to share that meme that I made. Oh, I made a little something for you, Corey.
Oh God.
So yeah, it's like it's a great journey. It's like I would love to join you for the last one. If
all of you guys are welcomed on the last one, 100%. Yes.
Here you go, Corey. Corey,
yes.
this is in honor of you.
Yeah.
right
That's valid.
here.
That's real. Yeah, that's accurate.
I based it off of your reaction to the latest episode.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, and to just thank you and
oh dude, one of the cool memories of Celebration Chicago I have is I was at the Star Wars Underworld booth with Dom.
Oh, yeah.
And Dan Grievous is right next to me and he's just talking and I'm like putting stuff away, so I didn't realize it was him yet. And I turned around, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, dude,
it's tickets.
I'm like, I need a picture with you. Like, we need to take this. God, man, what an honor to finally meet you.
I'm so thankful that you managed to take, because I'm not sure, but I'm so thankful because I have, before you posted that awesome like post about the whole situation about like the Clone Wars and everything, I hadn't seen that photo since that moment. It's like, and I immediately got like Celebration flashbacks. Like, it's like, oh my goodness, Celebration again.
No, absolutely.
I couldn't be thankful more, dude. And yes, and to just bring it to little old me, anywhere you can, like, if you search Google and see Tika's 50-70% chances that it's tied to Dying Grievous. So
that's
it's
awesome.
Like, except the weird porn parodies. That's probably Claire's department.
That's probably us.
Yes.
That's great.
So yes, thank you.
Well, you're very welcome, man. I'm glad. I am so happy and thrilled to have all of you guys on here. I hope I see you guys here Monday night for the finale. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's, oh shit. This community did such a great service for me personally, especially the last year, and it means a lot to me. And you guys mean a lot to me, and I appreciate it. And yeah. I thank you guys for everything you've done, and I can't wait to talk the finale of Clone Wars in just a couple of days. So, all right, let's end it there. Until next time, may the Force be with you guys.
Always.
Oh, how do I end this thing? I always do this.
Go through this every time we
I did
use
this
Zoom.
last week. End stream. Here we go. Let's see. Is this? Hold on.